Clyde and a couple years, one of those dinners. Okay, we're good.
Are we on? Okay. Ready to start?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll call the Rich County Commission meeting to order. Sorry we're tardy getting started. First thing on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Lee, would you lead us in
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the agenda and I believe it stands complete, ready for today's business, so I make a motion we set the agenda.
Second.
Okay, moving to second that the agenda be set for the day. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. First up, Ben Marrett from the Utah Department of Natural Resources.
You want us to come?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind coming up
Come
and
right up.
state your name and why you're here for the record.
Good. My name is Ben Marrett with Utah Department of Natural Resources. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Paul Willardson with JUB Engineers.
And we're here with the, we're here to, the state of Utah has received a grant and through FEMA, and one of the requirements of the grant is that the funding that we divvy out has a fiscal agency partner, which is a local government, and the money is for work on Birch Creek No. 2 Dam. It's for a rehabilitation of a high hazard dam. So we're basically going to engage in a planning and design project where we're going to be looking at and addressing the issues with that dam, and hopefully in the future we'll pursue a construction project which will rehabilitate that dam to minimum state standards. And
So the dam's been out of compliance for quite some time,
yeah,
and it just is a hard thing to come up with that much funds to rehabilitate a dam. And so this was a lucky thing that the funding became available. Fits right in with what needs to happen there. We need a government agency like the Rich County to sponsor the project. It is very similar to what you guys are sponsoring for the Woodruff Irrigation Company already with the PL 566 program. This is what this memorandum of understanding was drafted from, just adjusted to meet this project.
So dam number 2, is this the same dam that you've been working on with the other project?
No, so the Woodruff Creek Dam, is that the correct way to say that? The Woodruff Creek Dam is the one that we're mainly focusing on the other project.
Okay.
This one is the Birch Creek Dam.
Okay,
It's Birch Creek number 2 because number 1 was the lower reservoir that no
Right.
longer exists. Number
Okay.
2 is the main dam
Okay.
upstream.
Okay. All right, so there are 2 different projects, 2 different dams, and the county, we've entered into an agreement on the first project
Yes.
to just be the, I don't know what the term is.
Sponsor.
Like a clearinghouse.
Yes.
Sponsoring.
Yes. Is that the correct term, sponsor, or what?
or fiscal agent.
Okay,
It would be similar with the other project. All transactions and stuff would go through you guys. All invoices would go through you guys. We would submit to you for an invoice, and then you'd get reimbursed from the state or the federal agency.
okay. I'm familiar with what's going on, and I'm comfortable with making a motion that Rich County be a sponsor to support the Woodruff Irrigation Company for their project of planning and design mitigation on the Birch Creek 2 Dam.
And I just have one question, so is this is the dam in front of the Birch Creek Reservoir, or no?
Yes.
Okay,
Correct, yes,
Okay.
this dam is what makes Birch Creek Reservoir.
okay,
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to go ahead and sponsor this, whatever the wording is. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. What's the estimate on the cost? You have a clue?
So as of right now, it's gonna take us about $1 million just to do the study, to get in there, and the investigation study, we're gonna poke some holes in it, find out why it's leaking in certain areas, and do a very comprehensive study to get us set up to know what exactly it needs to happen to get it into compliance. Once that happens, then you move into the design phase, and we haven't priced that out yet.
Can't you just plug those holes where it's leaking without any problem?
But like a cork,
Yeah,
right?
just, you
Wooden
know,
stake.
few sacks of concrete and
Yes,
it just, that doesn't work.
I wish it was that easy. I wish it was that easy.
So that's gonna be a big grant then.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it will.
And what's the estimated time? 2 years on the study?
On the study, I believe we were gonna try to get it done in a year.
Can you do it in a year?
Yes, if
It's
we can
gonna
get
be pretty extensive.
if we can get if we can get the holes and stuff done before winter, right? It's not very hospitable up there during the winter time. But yeah, I think a year is a very good time frame to get that done.
Won't be very much longer. I don't know. How much water's in it now, Gio?
Fish water only
You're down to fish water now
on both reservoirs.
on both reservoirs. Okay. Are you gonna drop it below fish water to do this study? Can you do that? Or will you need to do that?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
No, fish water will do it. I don't need to drop it any
You
further
don't
than
have
fish
to go
water.
for the
No,
fish water.
sorry.
Okay.
No.
All right, well, we'll do what we can to help you and move that process
So
along.
what do you need for funding? Do you need this agreement signed?
We'll probably need some sort of documentation to present to FEMA that, just to show that the county and the dam owner have entered into an agreement.
So this MOU,
Yes, this MOU. Do you have a copy of it? Okay.
oh, it's for you to sign.
The dam owner,
Yeah,
that dam project.
I brought this. Yes, I brought it.
When it's done, we want a
No,
dam
you're right.
tour.
in this line of business, the jokes are required.
You wanna sign it?
Is it, did you create this?
No.
I did. Like I say, it's from the last one. We can switch it
Sim
up.
as the chairman
Okay.
now, so
Okay.
he needs to probably sign that, so.
Okay.
We've authorized him to sign that, but we probably need to change that to Sim Weston, chairman.
Is that SIM?
EON. SIMEON.
It's right here. Sorry. Okay.
Do you
I
want
will
me
change
to
that.
have my office make these adjustments and print it so you can get a signature right now?
That'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
That would be great.
Be right back.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else you have for us?
And this will take care of what you need
Yeah, mm-hmm.
on that bit, good. And, you know, maybe 6 months somewhere along in there, we could get an update of how it's going, so.
Yeah, sure.
If you wouldn't mind, just
Mhm.
kinda keep us in the loop
Yep.
of how your project's going and what you found and.
Have they given any indication, the feds, when we'll be able to kick off and start?
They are waiting for us to bring the fiscal agent online. I do not know at what stage they are in the review process on the scope of work. I would imagine it'd be within the next few months,
Okay.
after they receive, after we get this cleared up, so.
So, is this like dam safety money? What federal, what money is it that you've accessed?
So the grant is called the High Hazard Potential Dams Grant, and it is to do planning and design and or construction work on high hazard dams, and it's basically dam safety money.
Okay.
And it's clearly federal, but the state also has a dam safety grant fund, which we're going to be contributing to the project also.
So a match of some kind?
Yeah, yeah, we're covering the federal money is for 65% of project costs. The state funding will cover the majority of the remainder.
Okay, well, the irrigation company, are they responsible for any match dollars at all in this?
Ultimately, yes. For the time being, the grant or the project is going to be covered by both grants 100%. But once the construction project is complete, the reimbursements will be adjusted so that the irrigation company will have approximately 3.5% that they will have to cover themselves. But that depends on funding and future funding, so that remains to be seen.
So this $1 million is for a study,
Mm-hmm.
and then the construction once the study has identified the issues, then there'll be this next project, which will be to construction of fixing.
Right.
So, will that be an additional grant that you'll have to apply for construction?
Yeah, so there's a grant cycle that we apply to every year. I hope that the HHPD grant program continues to exist in the future, but everything with the federal funding right now is up in the air, so that remains to be seen. If it does not continue to exist, we still have the State Dam Safety Grant Fund, which we can and will fund the construction with. But that funding it just kind of depends on availability.
Yeah.
We work closely with the state engineer's office to kind of divvy that out according to need.
Okay.
So,
It's kind of a step in the right direction, right? As far as it definitely needs to be taken. Where it goes from here remains to be seen, depending on
Well, once you get the
items.
study done, then you'll know the expansion.
Exactly.
Exactly what you
Yes.
do and find
Yep.
out where those funds are.
Yep.
I get that, it concerns me anytime there's federal dollars right now,
Right.
with the uncertainty of,
Right.
It is. It's crazy.
whether they're even gonna be there, are they
Right.
suspended, and are they gonna increase, are they gonna decrease, and
yeah,
it's a difficult thing all across the board, really. Federal funds are scary, so,
yeah.
okay, great. Well, we appreciate you guys making the trip and meeting with us.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
And hopefully that, we can go forward this project and get that taken care of. And, Paul, where's the other project at? Have you been working on it at all, on the other dam?
Yes, it's stuck in environmental.
Is it?
They're very, very slowly moving forward with environmental. It's in the national review right now.
Is it?
Yes. Probably this fall, we're looking at an open house, a public open house, to say, here's our huge study that we did, these are the findings that happened. Does anybody have a public comment about it? Once that gets through all of it, the national EPA will make a decision whether or not it's good to go or not. And then once that happens, there'll be a junction there that we can say, okay, we're gonna proceed with design, or if they say, no, you can't do it, then it'll be off the table.
Okay. Thanks for that update.
Yep.
Good.
Okay,
All right,
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
thank
good to
you.
meet you guys. Thank you.
You guys are awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Lance.
It's good to meet you, Paul.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Thanks for coming up.
I can't even tell which one the wet copy is, that's so funny.
Oh, you're right. Wally, is it you that needs to sign this for the company, or is it GOC? Oh, OC, sorry. And then do you wanna send this to the attorney, or who? Is that what needs to go next? Okay. Yeah, that's a coffee machine.
Got us a new banner.
Okay,
Thank you.
so you'll.
I'll make a copy and I'll give this to,
Thanks,
one of
Mom.
my deputies to get to
To the
Ben.
attorney.
And then
Okay.
when it gets back to me, I will send it off, but follow up with me as you need.
Okay, perfect. You're Annalisa?
Yes.
Good to meet you. Thank you for all your help.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carl. Come on up.
What do we got up here?
That's for,
The next item.
state your name.
Good
and
morning,
what you-
Commissioners. I'm Mike Dunphy. I'm representing the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I'm based out of the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge, and I'm here on behalf of my supervisor, Carl Millegan, who unfortunately is on a cruise with his family, so he couldn't be here. So Carl sent a letter, I think about 2 weeks ago. If you don't have a copy of that, I can provide one. I can give you a brief summary as well. So we've been working for a number of years with a landowner in the county on a voluntary conservation easement. And we're at the point now where we've identified a funding source, which is land and water conservation funds in pursuit of that easement. One of the current requirements of pursuing that fund is meeting with you all and ensuring that the county does not object to the utilization of those funds in pursuit of that easement. Land and water conservation funds, that funding source was established in 1964, bipartisan support. The funding primarily comes from oil and gas lease revenue that's invested for conservation, preservation of history, and to help out communities. So that's the funding source that we're going for.
So is this where will this easement be located? Is it next to the bird refuge?
No, so it's actually, so I'm in, our refuge is based out of Brigham City. We have a Bear River watershed conservation area that was, I think, congressionally approved in somewhere around 2010.
Right.
And it's within the 3-state area, so we deal with the Utah portion. That allows us to get in the watershed up to, I think, 900-something thousand acres of easements with willing voluntary landowners. Utah, we probably have a few thousand at this point. So that would be roughly, I think there's 6 holdings for this landowner. It would be 4 different easements from my best recollection, and they're probably in the vicinity of Manhead Road up in that area. So it's primarily, I believe, that the conservation benefit for us is sage grouse and large game migration corridors.
Have you seen an uptick in people applying for conservation easements as, you know, as agriculture gets harder to do? In the past few years, have you found more of the older generation applying for easements?
So what I would say, I think I've seen more uptake and interest in easements. I feel that's because, you know, people are talking with other landowners and finding out that, you know, you're giving something up, right? You're giving up development rights, but we're a reasonable partner to work with, and they've had good experiences. Yeah. So I think, I think there's monetary compensation there, but it allows the landowner to still, for the most part, continue agricultural operations, or a lot of times where I work with duck clubs, etc. So they all have, I think, their own different interests for why they pursue.
Yeah, the landowner will continue to do what he's doing. He just won't have never have the opportunity to develop or build on.
Develop beyond what was negotiated in the...
Correct. So sometimes there's exclusions. I mean, sometimes dealing with landowners, sometimes that's their desire because, you know, as they pass from this earth, they want to ensure that their family ranch stays intact. So they say, hey, the kids can have the ranch, but we want to make sure that it stays a working landscape like it has for generations.
While at the same time pulling some value out of it to retire or whatever.
Correct,
So,
yeah.
Will the U.S. Fish and Wildlife be the easement holder then?
Yeah, so we're the easement holders. Primarily what that involves is once a year we do an assessment of the property. Mostly that involves to make sure that there's no development that occurred that wasn't agreed to. And sometimes we do a drive-by. Sometimes it's just looking at aerial photography, satellite imagery.
Is this something that you have to bring to us every time there's an easement, or is it a one-time, they're good with this money?
So that's an excellent question. I'm not sure. To the best of my knowledge, this is a newer requirement. It probably, sometimes there's little nuances that change with different administrations. Yeah. So yeah, this could be something we need to do all the time. And we do have another easement that we're working on in your county as well, in Lake Town.
Yeah. It seems weird that you would need our permission for landowners to do what they want, but.
Sure, I mean, I
It's-
could,
It's actually not about, as much about landowners as it is the fact of spending the funds on this particular project versus another project that might be more important.
If there was a competing project that this would endanger, I get it. Okay.
yeah, that's a good call. I'm more familiar with, we use Migratory Bird Commission funding for a lot of the projects I'm involved with, and it's a similar process where we go to the commission and there's numerous projects throughout the United States and they rank them and they decide which ones are gonna get funded.
Okay.
And they'll go with the price of the land.
Yeah, so it's a long process. We're at year 5 and we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel now, so to speak. The parcels were recently appraised by like a federally approved appraiser, and we haven't seen the appraisal yet, but once that comes in, then the landowner will see that and see if that numbers make financial sense for them. And then we'd move forward with trying to acquire.
So you kind of
the
did it
funding.
backwards. Usually you'd start and say, it's worth the process. No,
Yeah.
so you can go through the process and be like,
Yeah.
eh,
Yep, as you know, some things in the federal government processes are interesting.
yeah.
So, just a quick question.
Sure.
I'm Annalisa.
Oh, hey,
Are you Michael?
yes, I
Sorry, I
am.
missed the introduction,
Yeah.
but, so do we need a letter or something for them to
So-
sign?
The simplest thing would be if there's no objection, if that's just reflected in the meeting minutes for this, then I could utilize that as proof that there was a discussion. You could also send an email or send a letter, but we're trying to make this as simple as possible for everyone involved.
Okay. If we don't approve those minutes until next month?
So I'm the fill-in guy right now. I think that would be adequate. Yeah, if it's not and that something needs to be expedited, I could let you know if that
I mean,
would work
the
out.
meeting, you'll do the approval in the meeting.
Well,
We've got
they've been in the
recording,
they've been in the process 5 years. I'm guessing that probably in 30 days they
Right.
will probably be okay, but
Okay.
that's just a guess. But with that, I would make a motion that we approve the use of the land and water conservation fund for a conservation easement located within the Bear River drainage.
Okay, second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed by the same sign. Motion carries.
All right. Thank you. Do you have any other questions for me?
I don't think so. We appreciate you coming over and presenting this to us.
Yeah.
I guess as it moves forward, it'll be, we probably would like to have a little more information of where the easement actually will be located.
Yeah, for sure. I think what'll happen is that'll get all recorded
Right.
with the county surveyor, because all these stipulations are on the deed, so that's when it becomes public. Yeah.
Okay.
So is this particular one that you're working on dealing with sage grouse and sage area, or is it ducks and
Yeah,
wetlands?
so again, I'm kind of the moonlighter into here, so I'm not super familiar. I've been out to the ranch. It seemed like it was mostly sagebrush habitat. There might be a few. There's some riparian areas, so river corridors. So I'm sure there's some benefit for like neotropical songbirds migrating through as well. But I don't recall there being, large areas where waterfowl or shorebirds would use.
It seems like a landowner says, I want a conservation easement, and then they help you line up what easement might make sense, like this seems like it would fit in a sage grouse easement, or this.
Yes, our program is one easement program through the Bear River Watershed Conservation Area, but we do have a fair amount of flexibility. Well, we have species that we're interested in protecting. So like closer to my refuge, that would be waterfowl and shorebirds. And as we get up into the watershed, it'd be some more upland species. So once we find out there's enough value and we can come to agreement with what's gonna work for the landowner, then we just work through the process for a number of years. It's kind of fun. You get to meet some really nice people, see some beautiful places. Okay, all right, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You
Thank
too. Thanks, Mike. Travel safely.
Thank you.
Where are you going?
To Brigham. I think I'm gonna go back through the canyon. I'm gonna do a full loop around, see the beautiful state of Utah.
So if you go over Monte Cristo,
Yeah.
that's, and literally to Brigham right now going over Monte Cristo with the delays in the canyon, it's actually fast.
Uh-huh. Yeah, me and my wife took a little motorcycle trip through the canyon, and it was a lot of delays and bad roads.
Yeah.
Take
Okay,
care.
thanks.
See ya.
Thank you. Okay, Patricia McKenzie, Stellar Programming.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me
Hi.
all right?
Yeah, we can. Would you? Sorry.
You're
Hello,
good.
I'm Patty McKenzie, and I'm here with Haley Siemens. And is that Lynn there?
Yeah.
Hi. So, we're with Stellar Programming and Consulting in Casper, Wyoming, and we've been talking to Lynn and Annalisa for almost a year now, I think, about software systems for their sanitation, scale house, and the routes. So, if you'd like, I can show you a little presentation we have. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, great, okay. Oh, I have to share. I don't need to do it very often, so thanks, Emily. So we've worked with Annalisa and, okay, there we go. And Lynn on some demonstrations, so. Okay. Can you see our screen?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. All right. This is our logo for Stellar Programming and Consulting. And I'm going to see if I can, there we go. All right. So we're here to talk about our software system called Stellar ScaleTech, which is a scale ticketing and invoicing system. And also a new development partnership for a Stellar Routes module. We're a Wyoming-based company, and we specialize in the design and development of custom software since 1985, so we're celebrating our 40th year of software development this year. We've worked with various types of businesses. Solid waste is a big one, oil and gas, of course, in Wyoming. Inspection systems. We have currently a research arsenal, which is the online Civil War library. And for years we did blood draw requisitions and various other work order accounting and job tracking applications. We've worked with private industry, city, county, state, and federal government. And most of all, we have an excellent team of software developers and support personnel. So our application, Stellar ScaleTech, is a web app, and so you can access the software anytime through the internet. You just go to a custom web address and you log in to a secure platform. We use Microsoft Azure servers, and we adhere to the highest level of security protocols that are required by Microsoft. So you basically put in your site code, your login, your name, email address, and the password. So when you open the system, it brings the data to you. So all of your data is laid out in dashboards.
I think, yeah, he has a route, and I think he usually visits the routes even if they're not full, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to kind of help the customers be able to say what days they want it dumped, so we're not dumping them more often than they want. Cause I get so many complaints from places saying we're dumping them on days they're not open because the garbage is full, but we dump it, and that way then they feel like they're having a little more control over it, but then also the drivers aren't having to go everywhere on that day to pick up garbage. They just focus on the ones that are on that day and be done, and kind of save overtime and kind of doing a lot of running back and forth and up and down without a lot of predictivity. Sometimes it gets a little concerning for me, but that's kind of was the thought I had there. And then also the ability to do cans at those short-term rentals more often than once a week, and be able to then bill them for that extra pickup, so that we can kind of help the short-term rentals get their garbage gone without filling up dumpsters everywhere else, the ones that are on cans. So that was kind of my thought on kind of why that was, and just kind of streamline the deal, and then that way then it kind of helps us. If somebody calls us out on a Sunday, we can set a Sunday charge for having to go pick up garbage on Sunday, so it helps cover the overtime and the wages a little more, because in the summertime that kind of chews us up pretty good.
Okay, and I heard almost all of that, but I think I know what you mostly said, Lynn. So yeah, Lynn has been encountering these different situations, and so I think with the customer being able to select their days that they are going to have the bins collected, that will help for the
any money that's made up at the landfill is taken to the treasurer's office.
Okay, so she could print the end-of-day report for what she receives, and then the scale house can print what they receive, a separate end-of-day reports to summarize what income you've received that day. The materials tonnage reports will show how much tonnage or quantities of items that you've received at the landfill each day. There's also a new unsecured load fee that Lynn was talking about, where $5 goes, or it's $10 and then $5 goes to the state, I believe. And so you can quickly print those calculation summaries just by any date range you want. Also, customer statements are automated. You can easily email a customer statement just by a few clicks, so customers know where they're at with their money. You can generate aging reports and other invoice reporting. Also, the dashboards, as we saw before, there's search and filter options on each of those dashboards. So if you want to see a certain customer's scale tickets, for example, for the last month, you can filter that data on the dashboard and see it right there. And then you can hit export to Excel and you can give that list to your customer, for example, or you can run calculations on that to see how much tonnage they brought in of different materials. So there's a variety of options that are easy to generate and very easy to learn. Our software, one of the key items that we always shoot for is easy to learn and easy to use. And that's what Lynn and Lisa have seen in the demos. It's fast and simple. Automated invoicing is one of the biggest items for all of our clients that use this software. We take care of the backups, so you don't have to have an IT person handling backups. We're storing the data on your servers or anything. Microsoft has their backups, and we have automated backups with our team too. We have awesome, friendly customer support, and we have customized features just for Rich County, so this system will work really well for you. And what's really great is you have a huge opportunity here for the pricing of the software for both the scale tickets and the routes. It's going to be a really lovely system, and we're giving deep discounts for that development partnership. And this is a primary development partnership, meaning you're the first ones to be involved with the routing in this web app level. We've done routing systems before, but this will be the new one. So the system is ready to go for the scale tickets and invoicing, and we'll work with you to build the route module on top of that. So thanks for watching that, and we'll do whatever we can to help you get what you need.
So when someone comes in and weighs in and then they weigh out, will the program generate an invoice at that point in time for that individual so that they know what their weight was, or will that just be a scale ticket? I guess what I'm wondering, will it have the amount? The scale ticket will tell them how much what they brought in, but will it also generate an invoice of what is owed for that load?
Yeah, they can pay at the window. It'll have an invoice generated if they pay at the window, or if they have several scale tickets in their billed on account, it'll put each of those scale tickets, including the invoice, in an email.
Will it batch at like the end of the day, or?
Dollar amount on it. So
Yeah.
would you like to see that scale ticket again?
I think it'll batch out at the end of the day.
When would they get that email?
Weekly or
Like
monthly,
with their
whatever you
invoice?
want it to.
Whenever we set it to, I guess.
Yeah, they would get the invoice emailed to whenever you wanted them. And usually it's a batch invoicing process, and you say, I want to bill everything for this past week, and you put in the date range just the last week. It generates all the invoices
Yeah.
You can look at drafts of them before it actually processes them, but it does it automatically. It's very quick and easy.
And scale tickets will print out, the paper will be perforated in the middle, so there'll be a page that tear off and give to them, and then a page we put in the file besides being on the computer.
So another question, you have you interface with credit cards systems, so like Stripe or PayPal or Authorize.net, I guess we can just pick?
And we're working with Clover right now. We're waiting for them to respond. I don't know if that was a good choice or not. We are looking at another opportunity. We've done interfaces for other systems. Now we've got 10 of these software systems out there, and the credit card interface is an option, but it's not required in the system. So you can run your credit card separately and do these scale tickets.
Yeah.
You just hit pay ticket, and you either it'll put in the 155.40, for example, into the credit card machine, or you can have it hooked into it and it plugs in that number.
So if they got that invoiced via email, we would have to develop, like using API, we'd have to develop something, they click the pay ticket. It would be nice if they could just pay it online.
Yeah, and I think, do you guys have that feature through the?
No.
No.
Okay, yeah, and that's an option too. That's what we have with our research arsenal Civil War library. It has an online payment, so you can buy a subscription to it, and so that's an opportunity that we could make for you too. Credit card systems are not inexpensive, but I can give you an estimate on that if you want. So if you like the online module and the pay at the window, those are two different pieces, because one is web-based and on where the customer goes to a website and pays the bill. And then there's where you could pay at the window at the scale house, where the scale house attendant takes your card and swipes it. So those are two different interfaces. So
Okay.
we can do whatever you want. We have a great team, so what you let me know what you want, we can build it for you.
So, Patricia, what would be the time frame of, if we wanted to move forward with your program, how quickly would that be able to be integrated and up and working?
The scale house software is available right away, and so we would just set up your data collection with your team and set up training process or training appointments and set up the database with all your customers. And so usually the quickest we've done it is in a month. Sometimes it takes 2 to 3 months depending on the customer's ability to provide data and to get their people trained. So we have a real good turnaround time with the scale house software. The routing software will take us several months to go through and get what you want, because we build it each piece of the software. So but that's the development partnership, and there's a really nice deep discount for you for that. But we work together to make sure you get exactly what you want. Our 40 years of software development is in custom software systems.
Okay.
And so we always like to give the customer what they need.
So, when someone weighs in, would they, if they just simply entered a name, I guess, when they do a weigh-in, would that automatically tie them to their account number, where it would be printed on their ticket, their name, their account number, and the basically the invoice? So as someone comes in and they, how will that work, where they come in loaded, weigh out empty, and then that will generate the invoice, is that, and the
Yes.
weigh ticket? Okay,
It takes the incoming weight, and you have a scale interface, so when they park on the scale, it reads that weight into the scale ticket,
okay,
and then they put them in the waiting room, and they go out, and they're waiting for them to come back, and they come back, and you put that,
put
you
that
can
in,
write blue truck, or you can put
yeah,
any description you want of that vehicle to find that ticket. And so they're, once they come back, you just double click on their ticket on the dashboard, it opens their ticket, and they're sitting on the scale again, it reads that weight into the ticket, and then it gives the out, in weight minus the out weight is the tonnage that they bill. And then that's the amount, and they can pay at the window, or they can pay on, on account. And so the way you set up each customer account is when we work with your staff there at Rich County, we can use your database of customers, and there should be an accounting, like an account number for them. So we can use that account number to identify them. You can search by name. There's all kinds of opportunities to find your contact records. So you have a list of all your customers that you want, and that's part of the setup of the system that take, when I say 1 to 3 months, it's what we target for to get you guys set up. And that's working with your accounting team to make sure that we have your account numbers and your customer names in the system the way you want it. We can generate a matching account number for what you have in accounting.
okay, so there is some products, for example, a mattress, they come in, that isn't gonna be weighed, it's just simply a mattress they're bringing, we do have a charge on that. How, where that's
It's a
not,
quantity item as opposed to tonnage.
okay,
So you can bill by quantity, you can bill by tonnage, you can bill by cubic yard, you can,
okay,
you have different units of measure that you
Like
can set up in your rate schedule.
Yeah, and I think
then
if
you
somebody
can do
brings a load,
report of all
a few
all the
tires in it, and a
mattresses you
fridge,
received,
and a bunch
like,
of
in
other
the
stuff,
last 6
you
months
can just
if
add
you
those
want,
extra
or
on
a tonnage of,
to the
or
thing.
quantity report of all of the materials you received. I'll summarize those in a nice few clicks, and here it is. It gives you whatever you ask for with whatever date range. So if you want to see what all came into the landfill in the last 6 months, and how many quantity and how many tonnage is it, and it will tell you and very quickly.
Then that's something you guys can log into too and check whenever you wanna look and see what's going on. You can have that log in and see those reports anytime.
okay.
So like your tires, do they,
Speak loud so they can hear you up here,
is the tires sold as ton or by the tire?
By the tire.
by the tire. Same as a refrigerator, same
Yeah,
as a-
tires are like $2 a tire when we get tires come in. So that would just be an extra charge like a mattress or a fridge. So that would just be an added on there.
Anything
We
in
just
your
click
rate
it.
schedule can be printed, quantity or tonnage reports to give you totals for everything on your rate schedule. So if you have different, like tractor tires cost different than pickup tires, you can get a report that shows you your tractor tires and your pickup tires.
Nice. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll have some discussion with Lynn about this, and then we'll be getting back to you, but thanks for the demonstration.
Okay,
We do,
sure. If you'd like any more demonstrations, we'd love to show you the software anytime.
okay, so your quote here that you've sent us, does that include everything we've talked about today, basically, other than maybe outside of the credit card situation?
Yeah.
So that talks
Yeah,
about,
this is a good starting point, and you can always add modules along the way. So if you
Okay.
go, okay, I'm ready for credit cards, let's do that. You can take credit cards to the scale house, you just have to run the cards separately, and you just print a report at the end of day batch. It shows you the total for the credit card transactions, and you can compare it with what you have on your online
Our setup is almost 32,000, but then after we're set up and stuff, it'll be an annual 14,340.
And let me make sure I got my, here it is. There we go. Yeah, down at the bottom, that's the 14,340, but that's both systems too. So the Stellar routing module is on top of the Stellar ScaleTech. Stellar ScaleTech is the whole web app. Yes, and the routing and the module off of that. So you already got the platform, and the routing module is an expansion of the Stellar ScaleTech features. So you can still do everything accounting-wise with the ScaleTech system now, and then the routing will be on top of that.
Hey, any
But
questions?
I'd love to show it to you if you'd like a demo anytime.
Okay, we're kind of out of time today, Patricia, but this will give us something to look at and discuss with Lynn and see how we want to move forward.
Okay, well, let us know what we can do for you, and we'll take care of you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. It's good to meet all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
There we go.
We'll be in touch, Lynn.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys. At least it gives us something to think about so we can
Yeah.
streamline it. It's nice to get everything.
Yeah, now that we've got
all
the
in
nice scale, we need to figure out a way to
one
use it.
basket instead of
Yeah.
Yeah.
two everywhere. Thanks.
And we just will utilize what we got up there. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Agenda says Estee Hunt, Bear River Health Department.
it's like
It's like
Jordan's
there.
there.
Yeah, sorry, got a downgrade. Have two goals, real quick. One to get you back on track, and then other,
Jordan.
in accordance with the interlocal agreement,
Jordan,
need to present, an individual before the counties to be appointed to be the behavioral health director under the interlocal agreement. I would like to propose to the commission that you consider Josh Barson, to be that behavioral health director. Josh is a licensed clinical social worker. He has 9 years of experience. He's been with the department for almost 4 years now. Just over 3 of that has been in clinical leadership with the department. And he would also, it's important to know that he would be the representative on UVic that would represent the county's interests on that affiliate of the counties.
Is that Josh behind you?
He's a strong leader in our department. He's been helping in the process of getting a contract in place with Bear River Mental Health, and we'll be working on the integration. If he's appointed, we'll be continuing to work on the integration of substance abuse and mental health. And he's here, right here, if you'd like to ask him any questions, but we do need to get an appointment consideration in front of the commission.
can you hear me, Jordan?
Yep.
Would you just identify yourself and what position you are, just for our minutes and our record, please?
Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Commissioner. Jordan Mathis, I'm the health officer for the Bear River Health Department.
Thank you. I'm acquainted with Josh, and I know that there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of what should I say, interviews and meetings about this right person, and I think Josh will do a great job of being over the appointment that he's got. So with that, I would make a motion that Josh Barson be appointed as the director for for behavior health within the Bear River Health Department.
I second that.
Okay, moving seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Jordan.
you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Steve, come on up. Okay. Have you state your name for the record and that you're here to give us good news of rate drops or whatever it is.
It's gonna give us the good news of rate drops, because when they keep turning the power off, you don't have to use it.
Right? That's true. Steve Liechty, Rocky Mountain Power Business Manager. Appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning. Can I connect?
Yeah.
Will that be okay?
Is Darren Q on for?
I think you just, take over that HDMI cord.
Yeah, just pull the HDMI.
No, they're still right there, we just moved it out.
Oh, yeah.
Power cord or.
I'd like to figure out a way to put that onto our stream in the future.
Sorry, I should have this open and running.
Must be the boss.
Yeah, that's two younger kids there. Okay. Yeah, just wanted to take a few minutes and give a quick kind of just update on Rocky Mountain Power. I know I try to do this annually with you guys, with all the counties I cover, and just kind of let you know what's going on in the company and in the community. This slide, and I'm gonna go quick, but that, cause you guys generally have questions at the end, and I'd rather have that kind of a conversation than just throw a PowerPoint up here, but this slide just essentially shows, Rocky Mountain Power's footprint in the state of Utah. As you can see, in the state of Utah, from a generation standpoint, we generate about 4,200 megawatts in Utah. And a megawatt, 1,000 kilowatts. The estimate is each home uses 8 to 10 kilowatts for demand. So in a megawatt, that would give you, what's 10 and 1,000?
100?
100.
That was a guess, I don't know.
No, yeah, I'm guessing too, but, so some generation in Utah, we have about 12,000 megawatts total in all our states. So some of our generation comes from out of state, because our actual peak system load is over 12,000 megawatts now. We have about 1.1 million customers in the state of Utah. Transmission lines in all our states, about 18,000 miles. We have about 7,400 miles in the state of Utah. And then distribution line in Utah, we have about 25,000 miles. So a lot of line miles to maintain and keep upgraded, especially in this wildfire circumstance we're in these days. It's challenging. In the state of Utah, we have about 2,000 employees, payroll of about 247 million. And then the Utah giving is just what we gave and from a corporate level. And the corporate level is essentially the donations and the sponsorships we do for rodeos and city events, that type of stuff. So about $1.3 million in 2024. And then the foundation is a summation of 2015 to 2024. We've given back about just over $8 million. And then property taxes we paid in 2024 in the state of Utah. So two rates. Commissioner Cox, these are the rate adjustments that did occur this year. In April, on the right side is the general rate case numbers. We did file a rate case. We asked actually for about $650 million. Those are funds that are already spent on behalf of our customers that we're trying to reclaim. the state legislature got involved and essentially told us that we couldn't do that. It was about a 28% increase overall. This is what we ended up with, was the approved increase on the left. And so for you guys, for example, irrigation's a big deal. You would have seen about a 3.3% increase in April. The chart on the right is our energy balancing account. That's essentially a true-up account of fuels, essentially fuel costs. So anytime, and this is looked at each year, anytime the fuel costs are higher than we estimate, this true-up allows us to account for those fuel cost differences, and we balance that out each year. Typically, that prevents us from having to have a general rate case every year, which we prefer not to do.
So,
Yeah.
on that, Steve, so like Schedule 1, what does that mean?
So Schedule 1 is a residential service in the state of Utah, just like your home.
Just a home,
Yeah.
or nothing commercial, just
Right.
like, okay, and
Yeah.
then,
And so if you combine the two, they would have seen about a 6.5% increase this year.
okay, so then you get down in general service of Schedule 23-6, kinda break those down, or some like, commercial businesses,
Yes.
or,
So rate A, Schedule 8 is 1,000 kilowatts and over.
I see,
So mostly commercial, some industrial. An example is like Lauer Foods over there in Richmond.
okay,
Schedule 9 is similar, over 1,000 kilowatts, except for its transmission connected, so they have their own substation.
okay.
Yeah, there are street lighting schedules, et cetera.
Right.
Do you,
Okay.
do you guys resell power to like municipal power?
We don't resell, we just will across our transmission system. So they generally, like Logan, Hiram, Brigham, they all have their own resources through UAMPS, and then they will it across our transmission system, and we collect a small wheeling fee for that.
Okay.
Any more questions on this?
No, thank
Okay. Wildfire, and I don't wanna get into this a lot, I know we talked about this last year, but if you have questions, that's kind of why I'm here. Obviously, this has become a huge issue for all public utilities across the West, well, across the US in general. And it's become a regulatory requirement in our 6 states that we serve, and that's Utah to Wyoming, a little bit of Oregon, California, and Washington, where we're required to prevent a wildfire mitigation plan and talk about what we're doing to try and prevent or not exacerbate a wildfire situation. One of the great things we're doing is this risk modeling, where we're taking 30 to 60 years of climate data in every area, and we're using AI to build models now to better predict wildfires in certain areas of our service territory. And some of the things we look at is population density, vegetation density, fuel types, et cetera, and wind-related outages. We can accumulate that over time and help forecast wildfire or even the weather sometimes contributes to wildfires. This slide talks about our daily forecasting system. We send out this slide every day. Our weather forecasters send it out showing conditions that week, forecasting, saying, like, looking at the different risk levels based on the previous slide, those things we're looking at. This talks a little more about that. We have the 5 full-time meteorologists now providing 24/7, 365 days support, looking at wind, fuels, everything. And they're building that model that we can forecast off of. We have over almost 500 weather stations installed now across our service territory, and they provide 10-minute observations. And one thing we're trying to really point out to our public partners is that this RockyMountainPowerWeather.com is fantastic, and you guys have access to that.
do it,
Yeah, so you
Okay.
can get on there. I was actually looking, This is the East Bear Lake, station, so you can pull any of those stations up that apply and that are close to your location and look at the weather data that we provide, and there's temperature, winds, all that, those types of things you can break down and look at. So if that's something that benefits the county, know that you have access to that.
Does it give like the locations of where your stations are?
It does, yeah, so in the top, when you click on that, it'll have up in the top section, go back there quick.
I was just wondering if you could like bookmark them so
Yeah.
that there's.
Yeah, so you can go in, you just have to select the region and then scroll down through and pick the stations that are applicable.
Right.
I did this quickly, and so I don't think there's one in Randolph. This was the closest one I could find, but there may be one over here. And you can bookmark this one.
Okay, that's
RockyMountainPower.com.
Rocky Mountain Power Weather.
weather.
Oh, weather.
.com. Yeah. So a great tool, great resource for you guys. Who's your EM over here now? Your emergency manager.
Bryce Nielsen,
Okay. So he probably has and is aware of this.
probably not.
Oh,
We'll make sure that he knows about it.
Yeah,
Brett Meyer is one of our emergency managers, and he's generally the guy that's reaching out to the county emergency managers, and that's why I'm assuming
Maybe he does.
those two are in contact.
Okay.
Um,
If he's reaching out, then that's good. That's a
Okay.
possibility.
This is a slide I shared with you guys last year. These are just some things we're doing from an operational standpoint. So the enhanced safety settings are essentially changing the response time of our system. So in our substations, we'll actually change the relay settings to operate quicker and to lock out. In most scenarios, let's say a limb falls on the lines, the breaker will open, it'll close, it'll open, it'll close as it's trying to clear that fault. If it doesn't clear it, then it locks out. But in these enhanced settings, if that limb lays across, the breaker opens, it stays locked out. Just because we don't want to cause sparking and those types of things. Most of our system over here is now in this enhanced safety setting, so
In the lockout.
you guys see more outages, unfortunately, but we feel like it's a necessary step to try and prevent creating a situation where there may be a fire.
It's really inconvenient though.
It is, I know, I agree. Every time I come over to Bear Lake, the lights on the clocks are blinking and I have to reset those. Yeah, and that is the unfortunate part about this shift that we've got right now. I'm thinking is we were so focused on reliability for so long, and now all of a sudden we're telling our customers like reliability is important, but it's not as important as these wildfires.
Well, you know, and we've seen over the years the extreme devastation of wildfires, you know, and yeah, the inconvenience of having power out and sometimes it's a real issue. But on the other hand, it's kind of like if we can stop something before it happens, you know, it's pretty easy to figure out some way. And you know, the thing of it, the other issue is people have learned that, you know, maybe they ought to have a standby generator on their house just because whether it's high winds and a fire season, or whether it's a heavy snowfall and you take power lines down. I mean, they're all, you know, most of them are all weather related to the point of where, you know, weather's going to cause issues. Until everything's underground, we're going to have our, you know, we've got these dangers. And I've noticed, you know, a good share of people now have standby generators.
It's true.
And one of the things I saw the other day, and I need to look at it just a little closer. Apparently there's a box that you can put on your house that your meter goes onto, and then if the power's out, you can actually plug your generator into this box right underneath your meter. Do you know anything about that?
don't. But we do have, so for example, if we have an event where we have to proactively, public safety power shut off,
Yeah.
where we're proactively de-energizing the line
Right,
because
right.
the weather matrix fits that 30-year, I don't know what the word is, forecast. We can actually bring out generators and provide to, say you got medically dependent customers in the county, where we pop the meter off and we just plug the generator directly into the meter socket. I've seen those, we have those, but I don't know about these other
There's-
styles.
Yeah, I just, the other day, and I don't remember, anyway, this person has 2 nightly rentals, and he knew the power was gonna be off, and I don't know how many watt generator it was, but he said, you know, here's a solution, and, he just plugged his generator in, and it was right where the meter was. Kind of,
It makes sense.
I don't
It'd be
know, yeah.
Really slick and easy to do
Yeah,
anyway, so.
yeah,
I don't have a backup generator yet,
yet.
so
Hey, Steve,
I need to get one.
has Rocky Mountain been able to like put a number on potential disasters as mitigated by implementing these things? Is there a way to even
That's a
do
great
that?
question. I'm not aware of that, but I'll ask.
Yeah.
I'd be curious.
I think that would
as
make
well.
people feel better if it's like, cause it's hard to say, well, we proactively didn't
So-
start a forest fire, you know? But,
So I know CAL FIRE, done a study, yeah, I think it was like literally a 2-year study, particularly after everything that's happened down there. And I think you can actually access that on calfire.com or something like that, where they basically said, you know, because the power was off, we feel like that mitigated a potential issue through this part of a forest and this
Yeah.
part of a city.
we found 5 things that would have caused
Yeah,
forest fires,
and it,
you know?
and it wasn't their power, it wasn't California's power, but it was actually CAL FIRE that did the study that said, it's essential that they cut the power,
Yeah.
so.
Well, and the other part of that is, we spent over the last couple of years, I think it's around $250 million in hardening the system, so that's stuff like replacing cross arms or poles that are beyond their life, which we have a lot of, installing some facilities underground, using covered conductor in areas that are high, we have a lot of tree issues. We've spent a ton of money, but how do we measure that? I don't know,
Yeah,
did they prevent a wildfire? Hopefully, but,
that's always hard to
yeah,
measure what you prevented, you know?
right.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about public safety power shut off. That is our proactive measure. We actually had one of these down in southern Utah just 2 weeks ago. The first one, we had one last year, one this year. Again, did it prevent a fire? We don't know, but the weather conditions were so bad with the wind.
That's when you just say, yes, it did.
Yeah, we just say yes and try to prove catastrophe. This emergency de-energization, we actually had 2 of these yesterday. There's a wildfire up between Shelley and McCammon somewhere, about a 300-acre fire, I guess. It was close to our line. So we actually de-energized that section of transmission line. One, because obviously we don't want to exacerbate the problem. That's part of what we got sued for in Oregon, was that we didn't de-energize lines, even though the lines didn't come down. They claimed that we created a situation where fires couldn't get in there safely and fight the fire, so it made the problem worse. So this is becoming also another step we're taking. We don't want to be part of the problem at all. This just kind of talks a little bit about the conditions we're talking about on these, especially the power safety shut-offs, is if we get over to this extreme risk range, that's where there's the potential to actually de-energize lines. So hopefully we never have that up here. Things are still pretty green, and we don't typically get the winds quite as bad as southern Utah and some of our Wyoming, etc.
Well, you probably noticed though, maybe coming over, we're in a fire restriction.
Yeah.
stage 1 fire restrictions, so no fireworks, no
Yeah.
fires outside of a approved campfire ring. And just like you and your power, just kind of trying to be
Yeah.
proactive, but
Which also matches our settings now in the substations over here, is that we're on that one shot,
yeah.
so things will just de-energize if there's an issue. Some other things we're doing, a lot with tree clearance, et cetera, to keep those lines clear. And then this is the money we're spending this year to continue to work on hardening the system, improving facilities, et cetera, to try not, to have any issues that could create a wildfire. Again, talking a little about our emergency managers, working with your emergency manager in the county, if there are issues. And I'll ask Brett, if he's been in contact with your guy over here. I'm sure he has.
It probably has.
And this is the other thing, what was his name again?
Bryce Nelson.
Bryce Nelson. If he has been in communications with Brett, we do have a public safety partner portal, which Bryce will be able to access and get resources through, working in conjunction with Rocky Mountain Power and also our wildfire intelligence center. So, same thing, just work with you guys in the county, to try and help make the problem go away, help it support you guys. So that was fast, but I wanted to see if you guys had any questions.
Well, we always have questions, asked us about, power outages, and like I say, it's just, you hear all the time, well, power's out, and that's kind of like, well, that's because the wind's blowing, but, that's the thing, it creates extreme dangers when we got fire danger on the ground. That's only that's a precaution for everybody, that's the thing, not only, and it's also protecting the fact that every time we have a fire and it burns up one of your lines and you have to go through and replace the poles and all that, the costs that you literally have to be passed on to the consumer to cover, the loss of the property eventually, so, it's, I don't know, things have changed over the years, and there's some hardening things that you can do that certainly are helpful, but it's not a solve-all, and as long as we have high winds and literally high winds and heavy snows and any of that stuff that's weather related, we're gonna have power interruptions, or a car crashing into a pole, and
Get a lot of those.
that happens.
Boat masts taken down, power lines in Garden City, and we're actually, as part of this project at Logan Canyon, so we have power lines from the mouth of Logan Canyon to about Ryan Fork, so 9 miles.
Yeah.
And as part of that project, this year they're installing conduit and vaults for us, and then probably next year we'll end up burying that line through there, so we won't have lines in the lower part of Logan Canyon any longer, which is going back to this system hardening thought process and just doing what we can to try and eliminate that exposure wherever we can, so.
Well, and that's, it's like that line, just the maintenance of that line, the poles get old, it's, and heavy snows and those kind of things, and
they're all up in the cliffs.
they are, and, I look at that and I'm thinking, a lineman will drive along, found the problem, now how do we get to it,
Yeah,
so,
it's challenging.
yeah.
But we appreciate, you guys' support, your great partner over here, and
Well, you've been a great partner for us too, and we've donated, Rocky Mountain's donated some money. We've got several $1,000s for the senior center over there, over the years for different things, and it's been great.
It's very appreciated.
yeah, and those funds are still available, through the foundation. I always, encourage folks to apply, and there's four grant cycles a year, apply to different things, STEM, small community, like capital projects, the other two, so there's that, well, wellness and safety, and one more, I think it's like cultural, like,
Yeah. I would say Rocky Mountain has a very good reputation, and you specifically in Rich County for being helpful, you know, sponsoring rodeos and fairs and helping us out. So we appreciate it.
yeah, no, thank you. Speaking of which, I don't know who's Joe Weston, is he still?
No, it's Indy, Green.
IND Green, it's a lady.
Should I just email you, send you an
Yeah.
email? Cause I haven't been able to get it in contact with anybody over there, so.
Sim's in charge of that, and
Okay.
so he just,
Yeah, let me know.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd love to have that on, mention you as a sponsor.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you, I really appreciate it.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks for coming over.
Yeah.
Scott.
Thank
Always
you,
good to
guys.
see ya.
Appreciate you.
Steve, Commissioner, good to see you.
Get over there and enjoy your house.
Yeah.
Make sure you're there this weekend. We want to be able to count you.
I won't be. My sister's got like 35 people coming, so I am gonna stay in Logan. Although I wanna come over to see Little Texas
Yeah,
Yeah,
playing down there.
yeah,
so-
that'll be fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
thanks,
See
Steve.
you guys. Nice to
Steve,
see you.
he wants some money. I can tell you right now, he wants money.
We don't have any.
Based on the numbers I saw on the screen, it's
Yeah, that they just give away. Mitch, come on up. State your name and what you're doing. We'll just do our introductions and then Commissioner Lee will be back.
Sounds groovy. Mitch Poulsen, I'm the planning administrator for Rich County.
Is that it?
No, you got to answer too.
Bob Peterson, Azora Software, STR compliance.
I had also requested to be on the agenda to talk about the maintenance agreement for the upcoming pathway. Did that not make it on?
It didn't, but I talked to the commissioners about it this morning. We can add it.
Squeeze it on? Okay. If not, I was just going to leave the maintenance agreement with you guys.
And if you have an email, I can send you the link.
All right, good meeting with y'all. No, just kidding. No.
It's just, you're going,
Okay. Go ahead.
I'll turn it over to you.
All right, so back in February, you wanted a July update on where we were with the short-term rentals. So I'm here to report on what we've done, where we're at right now, and where we're going. So, all right. First thing we did was set up the system and did the address identification. So that's when we scrape the internet, look for the Airbnbs, the VRBOs, the bookings, whatnot, of the listings that are throughout the unincorporated area of the county, and then put our team in there to take those listings, deduplicate them, and assign them to a dwelling unit in our system, and that becomes a short-term rental property that we need to see if there is a license to or not. So that was step one. While that was going on, we had worked on setting up the hotline number. So there's now a live number that STRs can now, or neighbors of STRs can now call and complain, and there's a whole triage of how those are supposed to be handled, starting with the property manager.
so how does that hotline work? Is that a 24/7?
24/7 hotline. The only day it doesn't run is Christmas Day. The call center is based in Logan, so it's U.S. English-speaking folks answering the phone, both in Spanish and in English. So we're not outsourcing that to India. There's no call tree. There's nothing. You call it, and it instantly.
You get a live voice.
You get a live voice. Yeah, you want to call it?
No, I was,
Okay.
I was actually just gonna say. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's live. It's a person. They introduce themselves as, thank you for calling the short-term rental hotline for Rich County, Utah. This is emergency. Please hang up and dial 911. What's the address that you're calling to complain about? They'll then document the complaint. We'll take callback information. Then they will log into our system and see if there's a short-term rental permit associated to that property. That's important because that will have, per your ordinance, the short-term rental property manager and 24/7 number that we're supposed to then contact. So the first line of defense is we contact that number, get the property manager on the line, tell them the problem. They're then supposed to address it and call back to the call center to verify that the problem has been resolved. If there is no license or short-term rental contact, other than noise, it will be queued for my friend Mitch here to pick up when he gets back in the office the next day. So parking, trash issues. Noise is a different issue. That's really disturbing the peace. Those will be handed off to the sheriff's department. And the call center will manage all that. All that's documented in the system. So any complaint that comes in, we'll be able to see. That way, if we have a bad apple or a house that's always causing problems, we'll be able to see how many complaints are logged against them in a year. The line's been up and running for about 40 days now. Outreach to that number is really what we're working on now, making sure people get that in their hot little hands. As you'll see in my reports here in a minute, it's Sweetwater. That's where, especially the golf course HOA, that's where the majority of your short-term rentals are. I've talked to the HOA there. They know that there's a line. Have they done anything with it? I don't think so. But it's my past experience. These lines take a little while to take root. And once they're rooted and people know that they could call it and someone answers, it kind of becomes your de facto 311 system. People will call it for everything, pothole, power out, whatever. But we can start logging everything that comes in because that's kind of how the system's
How many calls have
designed.
you had with the 40 days?
Well, we'll say 0 or me 1, making sure that it worked. So it's new, summer's just starting, so I bet you're gonna get about 20 calls would be my guess. But we'll run reports at the end of the year to see. But it's mainly getting that number out. So that's the.
Yeah, let Mitch know. At the end of the year, I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, it does. Like other places that started new with a number, by year 3, it's in full swing. When we've taken over other lines that have been established, you could take 3-4 calls a day during the busy part of the season. Yeah, Big Buried Lake in Southern California. That was our first client back in many years ago that had the call center. We took 1,500 calls a month from them. So the process in the call center works well. So that's up and running. So the registration smart forms. This is where the building inspector and the fire inspector have access to the system to digitally log their reports is live and active. So any new permit that goes through the system, they're notified where they have right away the information they need to fill out the form for permitting. And the software is been coded to your ordinance. So the next big thing we had to work on was getting your current permitted folks into our system. That's taken a little while, a little longer than anticipated. Mainly, we're getting data from 3 different sources. We have the hard physical files that need to be coded digitally. We had bad data we could get from GovOS, which was not helpful at all, and then some legacy stuff from Granicus. So we had to take all that data, normalize it, figure out the parcel ID numbers, and then my office, Mitch's office, been going back for weeks, get that data as clean as possible. Okay, so that's clean, normalized, and now uploaded into the system. So what's the fruit of all that labor? Here's the numbers you guys want. Okay. So, compliant properties in the county right now, there are 86. So 86 people have paid, their inspections are done, they're good to go. So come when we send out the renewal notices and at the end of summer to start getting ready for next year, 86, those are the easy ones. All right, the non-compliant folks, the ones that don't have a current registration for this year is 75. So we're running about 50%.
That's way more than I thought.
Yeah,
Way
there's a lot out there. We have a category called exempt. This is going to be your state parks or whatnot that have a Airbnb listing. That they're exempted out. And then we have a category called neutral. These are the ones that have had an Airbnb listing, but they have taken it down. So currently they aren't actively listing. So we're watching them to see if that listing comes back up. More than likely the home is sold. They've taken down the listing and they're no longer renting is usually the case. Some try to dodge registration. I don't think that's the case here because enforcement's just now starting. So people aren't trying to play games with the system with their listings to try to avoid having to pay registration fees. Your registration fees are really, really reasonable, if not too reasonable. So, and if you compare it against Garden City, you guys have a cheaper option, so by far. So just so you see, here's some pictures of the north end of the county, just so you kind of visually see where they are. And then here is where most of your short-term rentals are in Sweetwater.
What's the red?
The red are the non-compliant. So that leads us to next steps and where we are right now.
If I could interject for just a second.
Sure.
One of the things that we had talked about is maybe the difference between the GovOS software and what you're looking at. GovOS produced a very similar product, but what they showed is the marketing company that was over each of the listings. So that I would see that same kind of thing on their dashboard, but the different colors represented the Airbnb listings versus the Vrbo listings versus the bookings listings, which in my opinion is very unhelpful. I want to know who's permitted and who's not permitted so that we can click on that, find out where they are, and send them a letter. It's that simple. Furthermore, in the validation process, it's just a term that we use to where someone behind the scenes compares and makes real an actual listing for Airbnb or other short-term rental marketing company and an address, so they are fixed together. That was part of my job. They didn't actually do all of that. They gave me a list of, well, we can't find these, and it wasn't very effective. They were really, they weren't hard to find. Which I just found disappointing. I just felt like their behind-the-scenes people didn't put a lot of effort into it. It was almost like a piece rate type of job where they're like, yep, I can't find this one, boom, put it somewhere else. Yep, I found this one. I mean, the easy stuff they would find, the hard stuff they would leave, for me to deal with. And I'm like, that's not fair. I'm paying you a lot of money to do this. So, go ahead, Steve.
Oh, thanks. No, so the red ones are now our target. So what do we need to do? Generate and send out the letters, and working with Mitch on how strong we're going to make that first letter, and then how aggressive do you want to be with fines and enforcement, right? So step one here is letters will go out probably in batches of 15, so we're not overwhelmed with calls. Outreach to the property managers, there's a good chance that most of these are being run by property managers already managing properties in Garden City. I have a hard time believing that all 76 of these guys are independently running their short-term rentals. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. They don't live in their home. They're not like an Airbnb that they're renting out one room and then they live there as a primary resident. That I don't believe that's the case, especially living here, knowing that I live in this neighborhood, that there's no way that there's that many residents trying to live there and rent at the same time. So I imagine a lot of the property managers are involved. So reach out to the property managers, let them know that this is coming. Maybe the first shot across the bow to see if we get some of these cleaned up right away. And then most municipalities will do a 3-letter. There's, hey, we found you renting, congratulations, here's the process. Click on this link to get registered. And each letter gets a little more strong over the course of 30 days. And then finally, your citation and fees start to go out. And that's kind of between Mitch and your attorneys on how strong you want to enforce the penalties of not being registered. So that's the next step. So now it's going to get a little more real.
So, the majority of these that you found are non-compliant, how have you been finding them? Is there one, is there a place that you found more, is it like a Facebook page posting? How have you been able to track these down?
It's Airbnb and VRBO handle 99% of the traffic. So, most switch between those two platforms the most. Next is probably Booking, and then you get into the smaller sites like Evolve, and Vacasa has their own site, but Vacasa's weird. They're a big property manager in the area, but they also list on VRBO. So, we find those listings. So we scrape those listings. We get a latitude, longitude out of that hosting site. Based on that latitude, longitude, we know if it's in the county bounds or not. And then that's when the staff picks it up and then goes through the evidence that we're able to detect in that listing and be able to assign it to a property.
And that latitude and longitude that's provided is not specific to the property. It's a generic, it's in this general area. And that's why it's important to validate the listing based on the address.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just took their pen and ran with it, then you'd be sending out non-compliant letters to the wrong people. In the software, we have an evidence section, so before the letters goes out, Mitch could look at the evidence and say, you know what, I agree with your work there, go. Sometimes if it's just pictures of an interior of a bedroom, then we have to get a little more tricky on starting to look at the GIS data, the owner name, the host name, looking at the reviews. Not all the time do you have picture evidence of a place. You start having to do a little detective work to try to figure out who they are. So, so if there's any particular property that you don't agree with our evidence, or you think it's a little too vague, then we could wait for more evidence to arise and then get all the low-hanging fruit. Most people want to see the exterior of the place where they're renting. When I rent on Airbnb, I like to see, I won't rent anywhere that doesn't have an exterior picture, because when I'm driving up in the middle of the night, I kind of want to know what the place looks like, and so I'm not knocking on the wrong door. So that's not really the case here, especially in Sweetwater. Those are big homes. People like to show off views off the balconies, views of the house, views of the exterior. So that's usually not the problem here. You don't have a lot of single or any single room rentals in the county. So, but yeah, that's how we do it. It's based on listing. So if it's red, it has as of yesterday, it had an active listing. And the purple ones had an active listing and they don't anymore, which probably means the house is sold since we did the initial scrape back in February. And we're scraping every week to every 10 days usually.
So, what did you say, the plan to move forward then?
The plan to move forward is start the compliance letter campaign. Step one, we're going to talk to the property managers to make sure that if they have something in Sweetwater, that they know where to go to register it. Then step two is the owners start getting letters saying that they're renting. I guess step 2A is if they don't register, the more aggressive letter is we have what's called an evidence report, and we will print that evidence report that lists everything that with the VRBO, the booking, all the websites they're on, if they have a permit or not, but yet most important, all the evidence of why we think your property is being rented. So that goes in the next letter. It's a little more strongly worded, but we're now showing them that we got you, we know who you are. And then the third one's where we get probably the most aggressive is that penalties and fees are gonna start being levied. And that's where you guys come in on how strong we want to go after the enforcement. Being year one, you want to give them a little more grace if they start registering. Usually by the third letter, a month has gone by, and I'm starting to run out of patience with them. And are you $750 a day?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so $750 a day.
No, I take that back. I don't believe that we are.
You are. Garden City is.
Garden City is, and I don't think we went that route.
Okay, well, whatever your penalties are, we can start enforcing them then.
Do we even have a set per day?
Like our biggest penalty is that, the fee structure that changed was that it's based on occupants now. Beyond that,
Right.
we don't get too excited. We've taken a much less rigid stance.
Which can change tomorrow.
Sure. If that's the route you guys would go, but
Well-
that's the attitude I perceive from the commission, is that you guys want to take a pretty soft-handed approach to this.
Well, you know, with the facts that we're nearly 50% of non-compliant, you know, I mean, kudos to those who are compliant, but it certainly isn't fair to them.
Right.
Who are trying to obey the law,
Mhm.
to, you know. So, you know, I guess 1, 2, 3 strikes, you know, become, you know, and then we'll just send the sheriff and have him, you know, arrest them and put them in jail.
That's gonna get attention real fast.
Take their house.
You know, that they don't have anything better to do anyway than to go and search out, you know, illegal renters. I guess you know, somewhere along the line, it's too bad that, you know, Airbnb, for example, wouldn't list without them, you know, identifying that they, you know.
That would be the best enforcement, is not allowing the listing without an uploaded license.
Right, you know, I mean, or then, you know, then you got the property managers, kinda like, no, I'm not gonna manage your property without it being licensed. I mean, there's literally two there that, you know, I mean, and I get it, I mean, they're just doing it under the table, and as long as the property managers are getting paid, it's kinda like, hey, that's you're the one that's gotta become legal, you know.
I think Vacasa has said that they won't list if they're not permitted.
So,
but I also don't think that Vacasa always knows all of the people that they're renting and whether they have submitted their applications or not. There is a little bit of a disconnect there, and I don't think they go back through and look to make sure that is taking place. There's a bit of an assumption.
Yeah.
I don't think they have local representation anymore. You know, Joey Stocking was their local guy for, in that sense. That's 3 years ago.
I was gonna say it's been 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
So it's, you know, things slide through the crack, and things slide through the crack with Airbnb. Like, one of the things we've noticed that we've had to correct is making sure your sales tax money is coming to, or sorry, your TRT money is coming to you and not Salt Lake.
Yeah.
So, and then as these new ones register, we'll be able to capture making sure that the right, that the money's coming to you guys and not, you know, some other municipality in the state. So and with Airbnb not disclosing down, you know, they just give the lump sum, it's harder to break out who's all paying. So anyway, but yeah, you're sitting around 50%. The green ones show up on top because that's the latest update to it.
So, is this Garden City city limit?
Yeah, that's the city limits there.
Okay.
And so anything that's discovered that's in the city, it gets transferred to the city. Because, you know, right here in Sweetwater, you have there's quite a few right on the border there.
Yeah.
So there you go.
All right, well,
There you
appreciate
go.
it.
It's gonna get.
That's awesome.
It's getting real now, guys.
Yeah, you've done this really fast, and that's a breath of fresh air, I think, you know.
Well, the other breath of fresh air is that he's right down the hallway. And was over at my office on a regular basis going, look, we found this snag. This is how we propose that we change it up to make it work. Or he, you know, wants feedback from me. Previous software, I felt like it was pounding a round peg into a square hole. It was, well, we don't know how to make that work, and this is how our software works. this is very customizable and makes it work for our unique circumstances. So,
Good.
I really appreciate the effort.
Good.
Yeah. Appreciated that too. I wouldn't have guessed it was that far off either.
Yeah, it's, well, ever since the golf courses changed their stance on short-term rentals, they've exploded. I mean, you could clearly see where the golf course and the hillside difference is, right? Hillside still bans them, golf course does not, and you could. It's pretty easy to see where that division line there on Serviceberry is.
Yeah,
So-
and all those Sweetwater Ridge mobile homes, I would have thought they would have had some sneaky people.
Yeah, I
there.
thought they would too, but there's not a lot going on, especially the ones at the top that look out over the
Yeah.
lake. You would think, I mean, you could take some pretty good pictures from there.
I'm guessing they don't
Traffic,
need the
but-
income to cover, what
The
they bought
cover,
for.
true. Yeah, so I propose to come back to the end of summer and really give another in the summer recap.
Yeah, let's see
So-
what happens with letters and see how effective that is, I guess.
Yeah, by the second one, when you start sending the evidence file, certified mail, then, you paid for it, so
Yeah.
let's see where it goes. But that's the one that really gets their attention. Some will throw the nice letter away, and a lot will get compliant right away. And then property managers, once they realize that if they're doing a handful of these, they're gonna start getting them registered. It should clean up pretty quickly. But by the second letter, that's the one that really gets their attention because the evidence file goes out.
Well, we've got some pretty hard numbers there, so we'll be able to track this a little closer of, how many are out of compliant, how many have come into compliance, and how many are following the ordinance, so that's great.
That's great. All right, guys. Well,
Okay, well, thanks for coming over.
see you
Bob.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Keep
Can I
Mitch
get
away.
copies of your
Oh yeah.
You got?
That's the good one, really. I got
the file?
Yeah.
This is great.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
That's the one I really focused on. That's
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So really quick, I've sent this, I had an initial copy of a maintenance agreement sent over. This is for the section of trail going north from the marina. An original maintenance agreement came over, had some pretty strongly worded language about what the county would be responsible for. I've met with Darren Q, who's on the line, and said that's not gonna fly with the county commissioners. Most of it was in terms of maintenance, so we now have an updated maintenance agreement. And just to go through it really quick, basically what happens is that once the pathway is constructed, then the county is responsible for maintenance on it. And then the maintenance comes in the same way that it always has. You got to take care of the surface and we do some weed control, some surfacing. They want it usable year round. We'll get back to that in a minute. But it comes up with a couple of things that we haven't had to deal with in the past, one of which there will be retaining walls associated with this, which occasionally get graffitied, something to consider, and then there will also be a bridge that will need to be maintained as well. So I asked the Department of Transportation to take out some of the strongly worded language, and I've kind of highlighted some of the things that I think bear taking a closer look at. And on page 3, no local matches amount. The county will own the project in fee simple title. Now, if the Utah Trail Network takes it over, then you guys are out of the picture, and there's a possibility that will happen. So something to consider. They've still got language in there that if the local agency fails to cure the delinquent maintenance activities within 30 days, then UDOT may enter the right of way and perform the work through its employees, agents, contractors, yada, yada, yada. The local agency is responsible for ensuring the trails in good, usable condition year-round, 7 days a week. And they put some caveats in there that, if there's a major problem, that they can be a little flexible there. The local agency further agrees that it's solely responsible for providing any necessary security or safety measures on the trail, like patrol, litter control, stuff like that. And then, they talk about snow management.
Well, manage the snow on the trail surface to ensure it remains safe and accessible for intended users. What does that mean?
Right.
Does that mean you gotta groom it?
Right.
Is it, and then where applicable, preserve a groomed snow surface.
Right.
We don't groom any of our other trails, neither does Garden City.
No.
So.
That's why I highlighted.
At that point in time, as far as management goes, I'm sure that we would wanna clear the trail of snow as soon as it becomes, maybe just put it manageable, but, as far as, where it says manage the snow and the ice on the trail, this particular trail and where there's gonna be a retaining wall and where that trail's gonna be, that wind's gonna blow down off those hills and the snow is gonna be 4 to 5 feet deep right on top of that trail.
Well, I'm gonna be snowmobiles.
I wonder if it
driving
means
on it.
we get to manage the trail. We're responsible for the management of the snow, however if we say that that's safe because nobody's gonna use it, then that's how we're gonna,
Well, and another thought that I had is, what if we start grooming the trail for winter use? Mark Smoot has grooming equipment that he uses up at the Summit Trailhead, and wouldn't that be cool to use like the marina parking lot as a trailhead and groom it for snowshoe and cross country and fat tire bike use?
yeah.
So get a little bit more, provide another recreational amenity for the Garden City area in an area that will likely use it, and
Yeah. I think ideally, I like that idea. I think ideally we would plow it would suck.
Yeah,
But you
for
see
sure.
people out walking on the road because the trail is not,
Right, is buried.
during the winter time and
Sure.
they need an out. So ideally in the future, we would have it all, scraped off, but that would take
Well,
a little bit of work.
the thing about it is, so just like I said, that retaining wall where they're gonna build it, they're gonna have to move that back and there's gonna be a retaining wall there and the wind's gonna blow the snow right down over top and it's gonna drop the snow right on there, right on the trail, and then snow maintenance from UDOT is gonna be plowed coming from the other direction.
Yeah.
So the trail is gonna be buried,
Yeah.
end of story. I mean, as far as keeping, grooming it is another story, but it's gonna be very difficult to groom when you've got a drift completely over, starting at 5 or 6 feet or however high the retaining wall is,
Yeah.
over to the other side. I mean, there's a slope there that, the only way you could groom it, so you could have snow skiers or anything like that, is to go in and take that drift out so it's at least level,
I agree with you.
which is gonna,
That's a
maybe-
tough go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Can
just,
you have them put radiant heating in that trail for us?
Oh,
Sure, go
Darren,
ahead.
sorry.
Yeah. So my name is Darren Q. I'm with UDOT Region 1 as a project manager. So the area that you're mentioning with the retaining wall, we are planning to put the trail on top of the retaining.
Okay. So how far is it off of and you're gonna have a rail along the trail so you don't step off the retaining wall?
That's correct. So it will provide better scenic or view for the users.
Okay. Well, I guess until we get it all in, we won't really know what the challenges are gonna be. So you're anticipating, Darren, that this trail be groomed maintained 365 days a year, and who defines what? Do you have some definitions within UDOT as to what that maintenance is? Is it grooming? Is it just simply not just letting the snow stay until it can be removed and stay removed for the summer, or in warmer weather? What's the parameters of what determined as groomed and maintained?
I think Mitch mentioned that during the winter time, you guys wanna use this, cross country, right, or snowshoeing. So if that's the case, you guys can't groom the snow. During summertime, we're looking for like vegetation control, weed control. If there's any cracks on the pavement, if you guys can kind of seal it. Erosion, like, you know, if something gets washed, if you guys can repair that.
Okay, so the maintenance would include sealing then as well, and pavement replacement?
That's correct.
Okay,
And if people, you know, somehow put graffitis on the wall, if you guys can help us, you know, kind of remove the graffitis.
okay.
So is that the only parts you got highlighted, I see?
Those are the areas that I wanted you guys to wanted to draw your attention to.
Hasn't been a lot of maintenance on Cisco, has there? Other than sweep it.
No, not so far. It's gone well.
Is that something we could like like if you guys
So,
sign that, can we
local-
ratify it?
We become the local agency, Darren, on this, shall own title to the interest in the right-of-way and fee title, and UDOT has no obligation to commence work for the trail until such ownership has been established. What does that mean?
So after we're gonna design the project, we're gonna bid the project out, we're gonna finish the construction. So once the construction is complete, the local government, Rich County in this case, will be taking over the maintenance. But since the trail's gonna be all within the UDOT's right away, I think majority of it, so there will be no right of way given to you guys.
Okay,
You don't get the ground, you just get the work.
And who doesn't want more work?
well, we need to get that, we need to move forward with that. The money's been appropriated, and I think it will be a good addition. I'm not too excited about, I'm just really concerned about the winter maintenance of it, but I guess we can see how that goes. But I can, I will, the snowshoeing and the cross-country skiing and fat biking, I guess we'll just see what that entails and what type of maintenance we'll have to look at, but,
Okay,
I guess with that, I would make a motion that we sign the agreement, for trail maintenance on the, new trail that's going to be created going from the marina to north to Swan Creek. I think that's where quitting on it, in Swan Creek.
Okay, I'll second that.
okay, got a motion, second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous.
Do you want to sign that and I'll send it back to
One
him?
of them sign yours.
I'm sorry I hogged so much of your time today.
You never hog our time.
You're not sorry either.
So does the sheriff's office maintain that trail?
Just the speed limits that are on the trail now with e-bikes and scooters and those kind of things.
All the things.
What is that speed limit? What's the speed limit on the trail?
Reasonable and prudent.
Starting to see now with the e-bikes now, a lot of the trails are being posted. Most of them are posted
There's your deal, I guess.
15 miles an hour,
Do you want
actually.
me to
That's
attest this,
pretty
or do
dang
you want the
fast.
recorder?
15 miles per hour.
What's that?
It's got the recorder attesting that. Do you want me to attest it, or do you
Yes.
want?
I think it'd be fine if you did it.
Was it an assist bike or was it an e-bike like a motorcycle?
Yeah, those are fast.
Yeah.
Well, the pedal assist are fast. They make anybody like Lance Armstrong.
I rode one the other day that wasn't an assist. You know, it was a motorbike, but it was an e-bike. You know, and I thought, wow, and the bike doesn't weigh. That's the other thing. The way it is, you know, they don't weigh very much at all, and they're pretty scary.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Mitch?
No, thank you, Commissioner. Sure appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm moving here for lunch.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, Commissioners. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank
Enjoy
you.
your lunch.
Yeah. Probably not.
Hey, Randall.
You wanna join me up here, Dale?
Should I?
Well, there's gonna be some questions that you're gonna have to answer. Randall Knight, private citizen today. Want to talk to you guys about your control of dogs and other pets ordinance 22-1 dated August 3rd, 2022. In that it talks about nuisance dogs being ones that bark and whine excessively. And we've been having problems with dogs there in Swan Creek Village, and we called the sheriff's department to have them go and talk to the pet owners, and Dale's told me that he can't impound them because he has nowhere to put them. And that's part of your ordinance in here, is that after so many warnings, the dogs could be impounded, but he has no way to do that. It does allow for him to provide citations, but I'm wondering if it could be modified to remove the impoundment, since there's no way to impound them, and set a fine of so many dollars after 3 warnings or 2 warnings, and then multiple warnings. The fine just goes up higher and higher. Start out like $100, then 500 or more. Because right now, Dale makes me think that he has no way to enforce it, and the owners know that, so they just ignore him when he goes out and talks to him, or a deputy goes out and talks to him. And as you know, with the growth that we're seeing in the county, more and more people are coming with their pets, and they're just not maintaining them properly. And I don't mind a dog barking, 10, 15 minutes, but when it's hours, continuously for hours, then that's a nuisance. And people didn't buy the property around the lake to hear dogs bark. And once one starts barking, then others start barking on top of that, to join the discussion of how dogs talk, I guess.
Well, we had good intentions with the impounding, but the problem is we don't have a place to do impounds with, and
Right.
so much like our jail, for example, when we have a female inmate, we have to take them to another jail. But you know, dog facilities are a different animal than a jail is, literally. And so, you know, everybody's dog facilities are struggling just to keep up with what they got within their own counties and their own cities and those type of things, and do not want outside animals. And so
Yeah, it's sort of like what you commented last night about garbage.
yeah, exactly. I think we need to create a situation where, you know, if there's a complaint, that the officer has the ability to, you know, have some discussion. And if it's a repeated one, after, you know, 2 or even maybe 3 times, that at that point in time there is a citation given, and then they can come to court, and they can either pay it or they can come to court. But the problem with them actually paying it, maybe that's the easiest way out. It's kind of like, well, okay, I paid my ticket, but what happens? And I guess we would have to go, you know, on a step-by-step basis of, you know, they get 1 citation, it's this amount of money. 2nd citation, you appear in court. Something to that effect,
exactly.
where, you know, it gives the ability for law enforcement to have at least some type of ability to address a problem. I don't think I'm sure the sheriff doesn't disagree that there's a problem, but how does he solve it? I mean, that's what, we need to give you some tools.
When you mention other facilities, I've taken them both to Uena County and Cache County, and I'll never do either one of them again. I'd rather taken the dog pound owner's kid out and beat him with a club. I wouldn't have got chewed out as bad, and they just won't take him.
Yeah,
these are ours, and I told them we'll pay you whatever, but boy, wow. But there are fines like no insurance and passing school bus lights. It's one thing for the first offense, and then the fine goes up incrementally as you get more citations for the same thing. Then the fine goes up.
That's why I say a step process of, you know, okay, you're gonna be fined, and if they continue to have the issue, then the fine goes up. But somewhere along the line, you know, I mean, after 2 citations and you know, an escalated fine, then the 3rd citation is you come to court and you know, have a legal address of, you know, this can be a Class B misdemeanor. I mean, I think we have that actually in there, that if you
All I read is that they can cite them with a citation, is all I read.
So, enforcement, violation of this ordinance is a Class B misdemeanor. So we've already got if they're, you know, and we put some fines in there, and
It's gotta be substantial though, cause $25, $50
Well,
doesn't mean anything, and I don't know what those fines are.
I agree, but I can tell you right now, whatever the fine is, the Garden City Fire Department isn't gonna get it, Randall. So-
Well, I don't want it. I don't want it for this reason. I come to you for other ways to get it.
I know, I mean, I'm joking there.
That's all right.
No, but we need to give the sheriff some tools.
Yeah.
To address some issues. I mean,
It is a little frustrating. People, I don't know why, but they gotta have 8 dogs and they just don't take care of them. So I don't know, maybe this is a good step, but it is frustrating. I mean, we've had calls over in Garden City, and we can go talk to the people, but they don't care.
Well, you know, and the thing of it is it is. I mean, you have a nice place, you've invested a lot of money, and then you have a neighbor whose dog barks all night long. And, you know, I guess if you don't want your dog to bark, then take it inside and put it in your bathroom so nobody else can hear it. Yeah. But, you know, to leave it in the backyard and you know.
And why it never bothers the owners is that if my dog's barking, it bothers me.
Yeah,
It's,
too.
it's kinda like, well, of course they're gonna bark. They're, you know,
They're dogs.
They're dogs.
Yeah,
They're gonna
they're
bark.
like kids bawling. They want attention.
Well,
So do we need a public hearing to change policy?
well, we need to change the ordinance, and
Ordinance.
yes, we would have to do that, and probably what we need to do is get with the county attorney and make some changes and then have a public hearing and approve the ordinance, because we're putting some fines in there that I don't know that we have fines.
I think you'd have to get with Ben and.
Yeah, we'll have to Ben go through it, but where we're setting an escalated fine, the fine we have is a person reclaiming an impounded animal shall pay $25 for any subsequent day in which the animal was under the custody of the sheriff's department. But that's just because we've took the animal.
Yeah.
This is an issue of addressing the nuisance of the animal. So we kinda gotta revamp our ordinance here and put some fines and the steps that will be taken when, outside of impounding. Now, certainly, if an animal bites somebody and causes harm, at that point in time, we wanna make sure that, you know, there's some tools there to impound that animal.
Yeah, the vicious animal impoundment should stay.
Yeah, I mean,
It's supposed to be isolated for, I think, 3 days
Yeah,
after they've
yeah,
bitten somebody.
yeah, so,
Unless they have their shots and they can prove it.
so, you know, that needs to stay in there and certainly, but the barking, it's a nuisance, but if it's not biting someone, it still needs to be addressed, and that's my feeling anyway. I think we turn it over to Ben, give him some parameters of what we want it changed, and get a draft back and get a public hearing scheduled maybe for August. And we'll have a public hearing, and in the meantime, he can give us a copy of a draft of what that means, and then we can move forward, and based on the public hearing, we could approve the ordinance.
Okay,
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
we'll do that.
You okay with that, Sheriff?
Yeah, I think it would get their attention, especially if we write them a ticket and say, hey, this one's this much, but if it happens again.
Well, it gives you some tools
Mhm.
outside of you
There's-
having to load the dog up and try to take it somewhere.
There's a couple problems with impound. Number one, we don't really have a vehicle for
Right,
that.
all right,
And number two, we don't have anywhere to put it.
well,
And we
That-
used to put them in this fence out here, and the Humane Society said they were gonna throw me in jail if we
Yeah.
did that again. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've tried different things, and I understand Randall's frustration, but there's not a lot we can do to help people because we just don't have the facilities to do it. And I'm telling you right now, you deal with someone's dog, you might just well be like
Oh.
taking their kid away. 'Cause,
Oh, absolutely,
oh, my
you know.
goodness, they get wild.
any more, you know, where if it's a service animal or a companion animal or whatever they.
But the
determine.
citation would alleviate those fears, cause they would still have the animal, but they would also have some repercussion for not.
Well, and they would you know, it would help them address the situation. I mean, if your dog's barking, then address it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like a kid, when your child's not doing what he should be doing, then you address what he's
Problem.
doing, yeah. So let's give you some tools and make it, so we can handle it without having to do impounds and try to find a place to put them and those kind of things outside of if the animal actually bit somebody or is extremely vicious. You know, those are still something that
Yeah,
you've
that's
got to
different.
address at a
Yeah.
different level.
And there's a lot less of that
Oh,
than there
yeah.
is the barking.
Yeah, I agree. So, I don't know that we need a motion on that, other than we just need to talk to the county attorney and have him,
Okay. Draft us up some words. Yeah.
critique our ordinance, and then we'll have our public hearing and make a
So,
motion.
so if he writes up that ordinance and gets something in place, I'm okay as a sheriff's office to enforce it.
Okay, that's, I wanna
Yeah.
make sure you're okay there. Okay, good. Okay.
All right.
All right, so we'll see how fast we can get the attorney to work on that, and if we can, we will, as of right now, put on a public hearing for the revised dog ordinance for our August meeting, and we can always not, but let's get it on your list there, if you would.
If it has to be in the next month, we'll do it the next month.
Right, but
Shoot for this one.
But let's get it on next month's agenda for right now until, so we don't forget, so. Okay.
All righty.
Okay, so, a non-agenda item, just to give you guys heads up, Jane Davis is gonna resign from the board. And so, I'm gonna have to start advertising probably in October for a replacement for her.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, appreciate it.
Give us a recommendation.
Randall.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks,
That's a
Randall.
sorry turnout last night.
It
wasn't
was?
Yeah.
Glad you come.
It was embarrassing for
Yeah.
her to drive that far for 8 people.
It's okay. She made it to Lake Town. She knows where Lake Town is now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I sent her the address and then said, follow me, sent her my.
I think
phone
I'll
number.
try and get with
Okay,
her.
see you guys.
See ya.
Kara Berkman actually came and rode with me for a day when she was doing it, wanted to see the county and,
Was that the county convention last night?
yeah.
Ah, I forgot.
I didn't forget, as an Edison.
I planned on being.
You were at the Democrat one.
Yeah. I planned on being there too, and I just spaced it off.
Well, and I was late, but
Can we have a break?
Are we gonna talk clear till 1 and?
Then it'll be too late. Yeah, we'll adjourn for lunch, commission meeting, be back here in 20 minutes or 25.
Now,
Are we on, Lisa?
Thank you.
Okay, I'll call, commission meeting back to order. First on the agenda is Jesse Calder, if you wanna state your name and why you're here for the record.
Sure. So I'm Jesse Calder. I'm here on behalf of myself and my wife, Tierney Calder. We're just here to apply for a county business license.
Okay.
So can you explain your business a little bit?
Sure.
Jesse, if you wouldn't mind?
So we've been doing this for quite a while. We started off about 10 years ago just cleaning some properties, and it's grown. Well, it grew, and then we kind of have downsized a little bit since I took on the principal position. But we do quite a bit of cleaning, and then we've got a few homes that we do short term, the full management for. The reason I'm here and applying for a county business license is basically our business address is our home, and since we started the business, we moved from living within Garden City limits to county boundaries. So we figured we would go with the county business license, and I'm not sure if that's right or wrong, but we kind of made sense to us. So.
Well, where your home is and you're in the county, that's probably, yeah, that's
Makes
probably
sense.
the right thing to do, I would think.
Okay.
So, and appreciate you, looking at it at that point. So, you're a property management as well as a cleaning business, or do you just coordinate the cleaning, or?
Well, so we do some of both. I mean, with the property management, I mean, your reviews come from the cleaning, so I do as little cleaning as possible, by choice, but we try to get in and just make sure that we're coordinating. Tierney is kind of the one that gets the cleaners if we're not the ones that are doing it, and then we just go in behind and make sure that we're up to par and we're good to go for renters.
So do you handle any of the renting itself?
Yes, we do.
So when if let's say I had a piece of property that I wanted to rent, short-term rental, you would line up the dates of those, take those reservations, and then coordinate all the cleaning and all that. No?
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So, and like I said, it was growing almost faster than we could keep up with, and then a couple of years ago when I became the principal at the high school, we kind of cut back quite a bit on it, and so I think we've got about 10 total that we help with right now. So.
Nice.
So, well, we'll have that discussion. I would make a motion to grant the business license to Bear Lake Stay and Play Properties for short-term rental management, for his short-term rental management business.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay.
What I was gonna mention to you is as we're tracking down properties, some have registered and got a license to do short-term rentals, and some of them haven't. And so we've identified a few properties that we know of that are renting that haven't really gone through the process. So they're gonna be probably getting a non-compliant letter that says, hey, you need to buy a permit to do a short-term rental. So if you get any feedback, I guess, from any of your properties of them saying, what's this, do we have to do it? We're about 50% non-compliant, and it's really not fair to those who go through the process and get their permit. And so we're going to be sending some letters out to try to encourage people to go through that process and get their permit, so that everybody's doing the same thing. So anyway, just wanted to make a note to that. I think we'll probably touch base with all the property managers of just basically saying, you know, we're sending letters out and we really need your properties. If you've got any properties that are not permitted, would you encourage them to please get permitted? So,
do you guys have I know there's a lot of talk in Garden City, you know, within Garden City limits. Do you guys have a specific timeline of when those need to be in?
yeah, so every year we try to send out letters, and they need to be renewed. And if you're already one and already got one, then they need to be renewed in January. But if you know, let's say a piece of property, one of your people contacted you and wants to put it in, and it's in it's in July, then they need to go through the process, and then that would be basically set up on a half a year or whatever that would be. But we need to get them in the system so that we know, you know, everybody's doing the same thing and it's fair for everybody.
Okay.
So.
Well, I'm sure on your application, because I know I've called in for one of our owners and got it squared away. But you know, whether they go to us or will your letters go to both us and the owners? And
Probably.
if they don't, I think it'd be a good idea if they did, just because sometimes there's.
I think I don't know. We didn't really bring that up. But
That's a good question.
That's a good question. We need to make sure that they probably do go to both of you.
I bet it just goes to the owner.
I think probably we've identified the owners and the addresses. So as of right now, I think probably it's going to go to the owners because 90% of them are not paid for by the management companies. They're paid for by the owners. But that's a good suggestion, and we'll make sure that happens.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, I know for myself, you know, I don't want to represent a property that's not compliant with, you know, with the county or cities or whatever. So
some of them were kind of having a difficult time. We don't know whether they're under a property management company. We just know that they're being rented, but they're not. They don't have a license.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we do that. Maybe we'll just send a letter out and just verify that the properties you're managing has been have their permit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the best way to put that.
Couldn't hurt. Yeah. Okay.
That's awesome. Good idea.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, thanks for your time.
Coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for wasting your 45 minutes
no, it's
now.
fine. I was hustling. I actually called in and said, "Hey, I'm running late because I'm stuck," and so I was afraid I was wasting your time. So I'm glad that it worked out the way it did.
That's
so
good to see you.
Thank you guys.
Coming over.
Appreciate you. Yeah, thanks for all you guys do.
Let us know. We're still working on our SRO guardian type thing. So
yeah. I think we've made a lot of progress.
I think so too.
I think we're moving in the right direction.
I think we can at least say we're working on it, and we've got some things kind of in place where we think we can kind of land in the middle of where we're at.
Yeah, it's been quite the
boondoggle.
Quite the deal. Yeah.
Thanks.
Mr. Calder, you can pay at the treasurer's office. Just say you're paying for a business license.
Okay.
And we'll get it sent out to you.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Kim.
Kim Wilson, Rich County Assessor. We have personal property exemptions. The first two ended up getting billed, so they didn't, that's why they're blacked out. Those are should be the last of them, because now we've estimated and billed. Oh, here's one more that came in by mail, so.
Do we all have the same list?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Jeannie's on top of it for you, and that's the one that came in by mail. This has made being online has streamlined the process so much better. It is just, I'm excited for Board of Equalization for you because it's gonna be so much easier. Like I said, I can't even begin to tell you how much it's saved us. Just in time and mailings and
I'll make a motion, we approve the personal property tax exemptions as presented.
I will second that motion.
Okay, moving seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, I also have, and this is kind of just a point of information for you guys. In our ordinance for, I don't know, the Sage Solar, it's for the Rich County Grandma ordinance,
Yeah.
basically. It says on here that we, not more than $11 per hour for employee time, but our employees are now making $21 an hour to start with. So
Okay.
I talked to Ben, I sent this to Ben and asked him about updating it, and he said so. He's gonna look at that when they update the ordinances next.
Okay.
Because I had this Sage guy sent this to me and he pointed that out. And so when I have to do the entire assessment roll, I charge $200 for the entire assessment roll.
Okay.
Because somebody's gonna maintain it, update it, and then process the request. But it should be in line with what our pay, at least our minimum pay, I think, so.
Yeah, and that ordinance is 10 years old, so
Yeah.
it certainly needs to be updated.
And so he said the next go round, so that was just a point of information for you guys, I just
Okay.
think they needed to.
And so Ben's aware of it.
Yep, I emailed Ben on it and he said that's a good point, and so
We'll follow up, make sure that
yeah,
we.
I just wanted to make sure you guys were good with that.
Okay.
And then, one other thing that I have that might be related to the gentleman, the Eric Smith, and I don't know, the house, you know the house up on the top of Lake Town Canyon? That you can see from the road that's
Yeah.
back off to the
Yeah.
west and,
Yeah.
okay, that house, we don't have a building permit on it. We don't have any information on it. I've been in touch with Tyler and he's been in touch with Travis Hobbs. And nobody seems to, they said it was built over a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
Travis sent me an aerial photo and I knew it was there, I don't know if it's finished or not.
It's bigger now than it was.
Oh, they said he was adding some kind of a shop or something. Now, it was either Travis or Tyler that run into a cement guy that hadn't been paid for some cement work coming out of there and was looking for the owner. But it says there, no trespassing, violators will be shot, and if they survive, they'll be shot again. And I know somebody, now this was hearsay, somebody else had gone up there, I can't remember if it was Utah Power and Light, or not Utah Power and Light, but the power guys, or one of those kind of guys were up there. And he had requested, they come do it, but he told them next time bring a gun or something like that. So I'm a little leery to go just crawl across, just walk down the road and go up and
don't do
measure
that.
the thing. I thought Tyler might have something for a building permit, but I'm kind of like with Dale and everybody else. If this guy's just getting a slap on the wrist, as far as I can tell, I think the property's owned by Revolution Ridge, but I don't know who that is. I don't know if that's that Eric Smith or not. But they said something about Travis had said in his email something about they thought he had a t-shirt business. And he named the t-shirt business. But they said he was a self-identified sovereign lands, or sovereign citizen.
So this is the same guy that's
I don't know that.
threatening to sue?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
You don't think you think it's a
No.
different guy?
No,
Oh, goody.
I said, do you own property? I said, so do you own property in Garden City? And he goes, no, I'm just up here.
Okay.
I'm up here. I'm not a property owner, but I still have rights, is what he said.
Okay, good.
So I don't think.
Think it's the same
No.
dude. Okay. Well, then there's another one. So I'm not quite sure how to proceed on it. I haven't picked it up and put it on because I
So-
don't have any information. And once they told me that, I mean,
What's
if he
the-
asked me if I, to bring a gun, well, I got one. I take one. But
What did you say the tax notice is in?
well, we think it's in Revolution Ridge. I'm trying to get the exact parcel number.
I've seen the
but-
signs, Lions Not Sheep was the shirt company.
That's the shirt company. That's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Lions, not sheep.
I want to say the guy's actually pretty easy to talk to, but he probably is not compliant, but,
So is it something we should take the sheriff with us to go up there? I mean, like, should I? we were just wondering if we need to get the sheriff involved, cause, I mean, obviously,
Well,
he's
if
out of
got
compliance
those
with the
kind of
building
signs up,
permit.
I wouldn't go along.
Well, I'm trying to figure
Well, I
out
know
where he
that's-
would've got power.
I don't think they
He's
got.
probably off grid.
Off grid.
He's gotta be off grid because,
Well, there was somebody that had gone up there. Oh, maybe it was the, I don't know, cause if he doesn't comply,
I
he
rode
wouldn't have got
right-
a septic thing.
I rode right past it chasing cows last summer and was afraid of getting shot out of the saddle the whole time, but
really? You too?
yeah.
So
So-
if you, I didn't know if you guys knew anything about him
So-
or them or.
So the signs actually say trespassers will be shot?
That's what Travis said. I can go print his email out and show you
I haven't seen
what
that.
Travis said. Let me go print that out and then you'll know better. Then I'll have one more item of business and then I'll be done.
I think he has it for sale right now.
I know it's got bigger this early spring.
Yeah.
As you go up
Yeah.
Logan Canyon, or Lake Town Canyon, look at the top where you would turn to his house, I think he has a for sale sign, like a Remax.
I noticed there
Oh,
was,
yeah, I
yeah,
seen
there's
that.
there's a sign there. I
I
just,
didn't know where it was.
I didn't
for.
know that, I didn't know if it was for the house or just some vacant property up in there. Or I shouldn't say
Let me Google
vacant,
it.
some private property.
It's all BLMs.
Anytime you make a threat like that, that's a first degree felony. That you will be shot if you
really?
trespass, absolutely.
Well, you should go tell him. You should go let him know.
I think I'm gonna drive up there this afternoon and say, hey, you gotta take your signs down.
Better yet, you should just take him down. Let me see if I can find anything here.
I'm in enough trouble, I certainly don't need to stir up anymore.
Yeah, I'll tell Eric on you. Let's see here.
But I knew they didn't have a building permit, but
I mean, it's a big building, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. He's got an add-on on it now.
Yeah, I don't see it. Probably has a YouTube video we could watch about it, honestly. Let's see here.
Google Google Earth or whatever, you can't see it.
Yeah, so I showed it, it's right, let's see. No, let's go to Google Maps real quick. See here, oops. We can actually measure how big that building is. Let me see. Building's 70 foot long, plus there's this big cement pad.
Did you get the picture I just sent you from Travis? I just emailed it to you.
Okay. Let me pull this.
So it says, let's see, Travis put it in quotes, no trespassers, or no trespassing, violators will be shot, survivors will be shot again. Is what Travis said.
okay.
So, but I need to get the house picked up and put on the tax, I mean, he's gotta pay taxes of it. But we're thinking it's either 7 of Utah, which it's right close to 7 of Utah, or Revolution Ridge. And I think it's at the top, did you get that email?
Yeah,
It's at the top of Travis's email too.
yeah.
So that's the picture that, cause I'd sent it to Tyler, cause he's the building inspector, thinking that he would have noticed it there. And asked if he knew anything about it, and he didn't know anything about it. And he said, well, maybe he can ask Travis. So then he emailed it apparently to Travis. And that's what I got back.
So sorry, this is a parcel that needs to be added to the tax roll?
No, it's added to the tax roll, there's a home on it now. And I need to pick up the home and add it to the assessment roll.
A home or a shed?
I think it's a home and a shed. But I don't know, I don't have any information on it. And like I said, I mean, I don't have a drone, which I may think about putting in my budget, just so I can, they'll probably shoot it down if they're there, but,
There's some other sheds too.
yeah, there's some things there that,
So
Like-
sheds or Connex?
yeah, if they're
They-
Connex, I mean,
They look like sheds, I mean, they're, let me zoom in on,
No, I don't, yeah.
right down here at the bottom.
Unless he's painted them Conexes. That looks like it.
I can't zoom in anymore. You're right, it might be the shadow that makes them look like they have a peak.
And sometimes they'll do connexes and put a roof so the snow won't just sit on the top of them too. I mean, it's just,
It's hard to know.
I just don't know what to do with him. Like I said, he shouldn't be getting away with not being taxed for his home. That's not fair to everybody else, just because he doesn't want to comply with what the law says. But I'm not sure if it's the sheriff that we need to go with. I think he's coming back in later on for personnel issue. But maybe we can talk to him then.
He's not, he got called away.
Oh.
He texted us.
Okay. Anyways, it's something I'm just, I mean, I don't know what our legalities are as far as.
Let's look into it. I'll visit with Joe a little bit about it as well. I wonder if they're aware of the sign. I know that it's been 10 years ago, maybe even longer than that, there was actually a cabin up on Monte Cristo that says the premise, let's see, no, it was no trespassing, booby trapped with cyanide gas, enter and you will be arrested. And this is an order by the Rich County Sheriff's Office.
Oh.
And I talked to Dale a little bit about it, and they immediately went up and took the sign down and contacted the people, and there was actually some type of a citation written about the threat of, because it basically said this contains cyanide gas and you will die or something like that. I don't remember. Makes me wonder when someone makes that threat that no matter whether you're trespassing or not, that you will be shot and even twice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that crosses a line there that,
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I thought. And like I said, I used to be a lot braver, but I'm getting smarter to where.
You're getting slower too. So.
Well,
Yeah. Older, slower, can't climb like I used to, don't bounce like I
But
used
smarter,
to.
so that's,
the way the
that
world's
counts.
going, there's.
Trying to, you can't take chances like you used to.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of.
Who used to own that property?
What?
Was that part of Lamburn's?
Yeah,
It was.
Dave.
Yeah, but we're not sure, like I said, even if it's Revolution Ridge or 7 of Utah. I don't think it's 7 of Utah. I think it's gotta be that Revolution Ridge, but
So
I don't know
you
who
get
they are.
you get two different parcels. One was 7 of
Utah, yeah, they're right close to one another, and this
That's-
house looks like it's right.
Says the benches of Bear Lake still have property up there.
Benches of Bear Lake? I haven't heard of that name.
That's who bought, that's what they call that place they bought from Doyle Esterholt.
I don't, nothing under that
That's
name.
right, neighbors up.
That yeah.
Not that I know of. I'm not familiar with that
So who
name.
gets taxed on that, I wonder?
I don't know. It depends on what name it's under. Is that the LB, LW, or WL? There's something with initials that has some ground up right in that area too.
LWBL.
That one.
They're all kind of around each other.
Yeah. So they're, and I don't know any of those
Is that? Can you tell, John, what piece parcel that?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's on
Wingsguard?
Revolution Ridge.
Wingsguard. Yeah, that's LWBL.
That's who bought
Right?
Doyle's.
I think it's under Wingsguard. I don't think it's under a business name, or unless he put it under that LWBL or
Yeah,
something.
it was Wingsguard that bought it, but he was calling it the benches of Bear
Oh.
Lake.
I'd never heard anything on that name.
Yeah, it's
So
on
officially, he
Revolution
didn't change the name of that to
Okay.
put it under that name.
It's like it's right on the property line almost.
Kind of looks like
Yeah.
it. So that's why I'm just kind of trying to figure out exactly.
And it maybe it's the same owner. Who knows?
He might
Yeah.
have bought that from,
But still, it shouldn't be that
Wingsguard.
close to the. Shouldn't
Well,
be
I don't
class
know,
to,
we oughta
that
take-
close to the
we
property
oughta
line.
take
I mean,
those two
unless
parcel
it's
numbers.
it meets the 30. What is it? 30 feet, 40. I don't know
And
what it
see
is
if
in
it
that
is the
county.
same owner.
It'd have to meet the setback requirements, which it probably does. I just
'cause Dave's
don't know. I'm just kind of
goes
at a
off
loss
into
with
the
this
camp
one.
Against the road down
But I need to
where
get it picked up and put on the
Herman
assessment
used to
roll, but
farm.
I'm not sure exactly how to go about doing it when I know
Yeah.
nothing about it.
Then Doyle's.
I was gonna try to see if I couldn't measure. I think there's a site on somewhere that I should be able to maybe try to measure that. Maybe Kaya can measure it, give me a rough idea of square footage even.
I can tell you how long and wide it is, but I don't know what that cement pad part is.
I think that's where the shop or garage or something's gonna be.
So there is one big, kind of like a barn dominium, and then there's another almost equal sized pad. It almost seems like it's like a bunker.
No, I don't know, cause somebody was saying they thought they were putting up a shop up there,
Okay.
a different, like just after the house thing. But I don't know where they're at in the building process. Like I said, I'm thinking, I have a gun, but I really don't wanna get in a shootout with some dude over at home.
Want to be worth it?
No, it's not worth my life. I don't know, I don't think I have that many years left on my life, so I kinda gotta be careful with them.
Does it have a lock gate? I mean, is there a fence around it?
Yeah, it's locked.
Doesn't it have a lock gate?
I haven't been right to it, but I'm sure it's gonna,
Yeah, it's locked.
I guess I could cut the sign down and then I could walk back there, but
We were having all that cow.
I'm just not that brave anymore.
Took the cow
I just,
shit over.
like I said, I'm pretty brave,
Fence
but
didn't get out.
I don't wanna borrow trouble either.
Well, you have been cursed.
I have
So
been
maybe
cursed.
don't go there.
So
Did
I'm
you?
getting a shootout.
Oh, you gotta see what she sent. This is when she paid. She paid it. I was surprised, but she went ahead and paid it. But this is what she put on her check. This is why Kaya had me throwing salt. Let's see where.
Throw salt.
Throwing salt over my shoulder and folding away from me 3 times. she's got into that stuff. I, however, am not. So that's what she put on the check. And you
Holy
see the
cow.
6 is highlighted. 666, which is of the devil.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's.
But she wrote this all on it.
That's signed, and then she did it on the envelope too, on the back of the envelope.
Right, sakes.
But then Camille pulled it up, that same sign, and that's just a bad luck sign. That's what she said. But she highlighted on the envelope with the front
BS
of
charges.
Yep, and then County S office. Did you see that?
County ass.
Some on this when it up here. There's a 6 here and a couple 6s,
Oh,
other
yeah.
6s, and she's highlighted those 6s also on the envelope and on the check. I thought, what?
666.
Yeah, I thought, lady, you think you got a lot more power than what you have.
It's funny.
But
Just stand over there. Stand over there.
I folded it away from me 3 times, envelope and the check, and I threw salt on
All
my
for
shoulder.
$25.
$25 penalty. Her whole bill was, but you can see, and then on the back of the envelope, she did the same drawing.
Yeah, that's creepy.
That's what I thought. I thought, lady, like Eugene said, she worked harder on that than she did just if she'd have gone online and updated her thing. But it was our fault she never got anything.
Probably stamped.
Oh, you don't want to see it?
She doesn't want to be cursed.
No, it's just me and my family, but so far we've been okay. So I think I told the devil to get the hints, so I'm good.
Alright.
So anyways, so that was Vicky Waters on that lady, but this guy I'm just not sure about. So I'm thinking maybe get a hold of Dale and see what he would suggest. And
Yeah, let Bill and Dale.
because
worry about it.
the Tyler needs to be known, or he needs to go up there and do his building inspection stuff. And it should be red tagged because the son of a bee didn't get his.
I was
didn't
just
get a
gonna
building
say,
permit.
it needs to be red tagged and he needs to be fined.
Yeah, because he didn't comply.
Hasn't at all.
Okay, now I'm gonna change hats and go Kim Wilson Rich County Ambulance. And they've put new rates for 25 for the ambulance. We are charging right now $1,200 a call out. We could charge $1,630.31 for our call out. We can't charge more than that with what the state has. And then we're at $35 a mile, and the max we can charge is $42.24 a mile. So I talked to Dell about it, and we're under the impression right now ambulance bills are pretty expensive. You start doing $35 a mile, and just going to Evanston, that's over $1,000 for a bill, plus the $1,200 call out.
What are we now?
We're at
30.
35 per mile and $1,200 call out. So the ambulance association is thinking to leave it alone, not raise the rates, but ultimately that is not our call, that's yours. But usually you ask a recommendation from the ambulance service. It's just, you know, we don't want people to not call if they need us.
Remind me how much do we pay now to our volunteers?
$50 per transport. So if we don't transport, we don't get paid. So if we go to a call, like we went on one the other night in the middle of the night, diabetic call, ended up being okay, we didn't transport, no bill.
Yeah, we probably should change that to some type of compensation for.
Well, the county don't get.
The county doesn't get paid either for that, for
Yeah.
those, because we
No,
can't
but it's
bill if we
still-
don't charge.
When you don't
Or, I
try,
mean,
when
if we
you
don't
don't
bill,
transport, you
yeah.
can't
charge.
Then we
bill
need to-
because insurance
I would
doesn't
say
cover
then-
non-transports.
Then we probably need to, if we were to change the rates, I would feel comfortable only changing rates if we were to increase what we're paying our volunteers.
So, one of the things about that is, and I had this discussion with Darren Bushman, which was over emergency management, who was an EMT, about the rates and the call-outs and those type of things, and he said, one of the things you need to understand or evaluate in your particular county is how many times does your ambulance get called out that it doesn't transport, and so you get nothing back for those call outs, even though sometimes a call out and you don't transport is longer than if you actually transported them. So he said some of those costs, you know, are to help cover your costs in the case of if you're paying your EMTs and those kind of things.
Well, and also,
You know, he said you kind of look at that and because you can't bill for no transport as far as getting insurance back, but that doesn't mean that you didn't pull a voluntary EMT away from their job, and you can't blame them because they didn't get transported. So he said you he said some of those rates are really high, but then all of a sudden when you realize that there's costs there that you don't ever get reimbursed for, you know, do you have to charge a little more for the ones you do to try to cover the ones you don't? He just brought that up.
And one of the biggest expenses we have is when we fly them out, we don't get a penny for that.
Yeah.
And we put an IV in and
the
whatever
supplies,
medicine
that's
we
what I was
need,
gonna
pain
say.
meds or whatever, put them on the chopper and we get nothing.
And that's what he said. He said, you know, you can't just take what it costs you per run because you have those runs that you never get compensated for.
Yeah.
but then you also have the flip side of, right now, we're seeing a little bit because they get insurance. The state gives them insurance if they're volunteers, and it's pretty good insurance from what I understand.
I don't think we're
But
at what are we doing around $50?
$50 now.
Even at $50, I mean, we probably don't have enough. No transports. I mean, we are flying a few people, but even overall over a year's time, it's not. I don't know that we need to increase our rates. I mean, I hate to get it so expensive that someone who doesn't have insurance and sits there and says, I can't afford an ambulance, and don't call because it's so expensive that, you know, and we know very well, you know, we have situations where we've had people write letters where they haven't been insured and they don't have a job and they don't have any chance of, you know, it's a pretty stiff bill. I think we're probably covering our costs pretty close with where we're at. And the rates will probably go up another year. I mean, we can always adjust those.
Oh, they go up every year,
At any time. That's why they send those suggestions out. Here's your new rates. So,
and we can't charge more than that, but we can charge up to that. The other thing we have to be careful, like with our paying our EMTs, we got some that will just go to the scene because they don't have to transport. They just have to go to the scene so much of a percentage of the time, and they get the insurance. And if we start paying them for non-transports, you're gonna have a whole ton of people show up to the scene, and then nobody's gonna wanna transport. And right now, we're seeing a little bit of issue with some, people that want to, that, wanna get paid for everything they do, and it's no longer about patient care.
Yeah.
And the ambulance service is all about taking care of the patient. It should be about patient care, not who's on the run and who gets paid $50. And we're trying to make it so they're not getting rich doing that. And it is a hardship on people that are leaving their jobs, but then you have other people that abuse the system. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And they're not leaving anything if it's not convenient for them. Even in the middle of the night, when you know every damn person is probably home sleeping, they won't get up and go because it's an inconvenience. And I'm not saying it's everybody, and I'm just saying but it's the ones that do that give everybody else heartburn and a bad taste.
Yeah, I don't know how I think that's just gonna have to exist in this world, you know?
Well, but what I'm saying is if, sometimes it's like, yeah, we need to compensate our EMTs more. Well, that's fine and dandy, but they knew what they were getting into when they signed up for the game.
Yeah.
And part of it is, and like I said, but then again, I know they didn't sign up to be called out. They just get back from a run and they're called out again. But if they're transporting, they're getting paid the $50.
Yeah, I just think the 20, even if it were $25 for even showing up, it's so minimal compared to the overall budget that it's just.
But it comes out of our budget, our
Yeah.
ambulance budget, and then the other thing you don't realize is costs go up, so we budget for supplies, and then costs go up, and we can't get stuff. And then we also have, just like the 2 computers we had, they were nice computers.
Yeah.
And now they're freaking broke and not usable. And it's like, if they're gonna just tear the shit out of things, then,
I'd make a motion that we just keep the rates the way they are, for the same rates for another at least 6 months.
I would second that motion at the, EMT Association's recommendation.
Okay, motion to keep the rates the same. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
But if you come up with some solution, as an
well,
association.
we're always thinking and trying to
or
improve
decide you
things
need
for our
more money
EMTs,
for
but
run it.
like I said, it's supposed to be about patient care.
Yeah.
And, it just gets to be a problem because then people are fighting over who's going on the run.
Well, I'm glad to hear
And
that
there's-
more people are wanting to do it because of the money, because that was the intent as
Mhm.
well, is like, that's
Yeah.
an incentive enough to get people out.
We've had a few more do it. The insurance that the state provides has been a bigger incentive. But they
That's
don't
awesome.
have to transport for that. They just have to go to the scene, which is good, but sometimes it leaves the same people transporting over and over and over again. So, but like I said, and then we've got, like I said, it just seems like there's one thing and then two, but some of our budget, when we set our budget, sometimes we can't foresee some of these charges, And so anyway, like I said, we've had a couple ambulances, or one that was, we had to do a new one right behind it, so.
Yeah.
And some things like that, which things happen, we get that, but, Anything else you guys have for me?
I don't think so, just get that piece of property up there, go up there and get some measurements on it, let's get that on the tax roll.
Okay. I'll have Dell hand you the bill when I get, when I don't come out at all.
Yeah.
They'll have to call search and rescue out to come get me, and that might be, well, we see what happened to the firefighters in Idaho.
Yeah.
So it's a thing. One other question I have, right along those same lines. I just lost my train of thought. I'll think about it. If I think about it, I'll come back in
Okay.
and ask you, because there was one other thing I had just crossed my mind a couple of times today, and I didn't write it down. But,
We'll be here.
okay, I'll think about it. It may be tomorrow, though, when you're not here, but I'll
All right.
try to ask you when I think about it again.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And if you have any troubles, or if people are calling you about personal property, the law says I have to charge that penalty, 10% of the tax due or no less than $25 for personal property people that haven't filed their personal property stuff. We gave them clear until, Jeannie didn't start billing until June 17th. So they had clear up until that time to call us, go online and do their thing, or get some help from us in some sort of way.
So that fee is just if they are
That is
then
a-
trying to file an
That's a
exemption
penalty.
after the fact.
Well, no, once that, if they're not done by May 15th, it's supposed to be May 15th, then I am charged by law to estimate the tax due, note the failure to file, estimate the tax due,
Add
charge the
25 bucks
penalty, and bill them. So
Okay.
now they don't have the option to be exempt. So maybe their bill, like the one lady that I showed you the picture of, her stuff, she only owed 56 cents.
Plus $25.
So it's $25.56, which isn't huge, but it's the penalty's what they're the maddest about. But they would have been exempt if she'd have just gone on, and they think this exemption's automatic. But the legislature makes them apply for this exemption. There's no automatic exemption. They have to apply for it. And so that's what you guys are approving when I give you those
Okay. that makes
lists.
sense.
But like I said, there's some of them I just aren't sure what, they're mad, but that's what the law says we're supposed to do. And we've given them an extra month this year because of our online system. And we've walked people through it online. We've helped in every way possible if they will just call us. But they're claiming they didn't get their postcards. We sent them twice to the same address they got the bill at. They got the bill, but they didn't get the postcards. And I've had a few that are, well, I never got it. And one lady, she said that, asked if I was calling her a liar, and I just said it was sent to the same address. They were both sent to the same address as the bill, and you got the bill. So I don't get that.
Yeah.
And then I've had people say they didn't get them, and then they go do some research, and they did get them. So I don't know how else to help people. If they won't call us, if they won't let us help them, that's kind of on them. But we had a lot this year. So if you get any more of those calls, direct them to me, or we'll talk about them at commission meeting, if that works for you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you. We need a motion to enter into this contract with the state.
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we sign the contract with the state for bailiff services in the courts.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
second.
Okay, moving to second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we let me see here. Approve the invoices, expenditures for June.
Second.
Move second that we pay the invoices for June. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I have the minutes here and I've read through them. I don't see any additions and corrections, so I would make a motion we approve the minutes for May 7th, 2025. They look good. We did have some audio difficulties there, but the minutes look
that
like.
was last month.
That's coming up on June.
Oh,
So I actually,
Oh, okay.
I would have the audio.
okay, no, that's fine. May 7th. Here we are in July. I'm sorry.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, moving second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. And I would move that we strike the financial audit approval and the executive session as the financial audit hasn't been presented to us and the executive session has been called called off for other reasons.
Dell's canceled that.
Right.
I'll second that.
Moving second that we cancel the financial audit and the executive session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The Scott Wheeler lot split discussion only was, I wanted to bring it up to our attorney. Scott wants to split his property and not have his home tied to too much acreage for the mortgage. And the P&Z was all for it and good for it, but wanted to make sure that we wouldn't have other repercussions later in the future of somebody thinking that they could split a lot 3 times and not
Yeah,
repercussions of
buy
it.
a big piece of property and then come in and split it after, yeah.
So,
So we probably ought to have some discussion with our attorney about that before we move too far forward with that, even though planning and zoning, did they give a recommendation they were okay with that?
they were good with doing it as long as the attorney said we wouldn't get in trouble later
Okay.
with people coming
Okay,
in wanting the same thing.
let's review that item with our attorney. I think would be the best for right now.
Okay. That's it then. Got a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second to adjourn. All in favor,